Our dignitaries. Come here. Our chief guest for today, Professor Amitabh Chakraborty, sir. Our guest of honor for today, Professor Krishna Mohan Pandey, sir. Our guest of honor, Professor A.K. Awasthi, sir. And our guest, Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, sir. our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Sudhir Kumar Avasthi sir, and our Registrar, Dr. Rakesh Sharma sir.
भैया शर्म मर्म करे हो भैया
You are right that way.
Sir, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Mishra. Sir, Dr. Sudhir Kumar Mishra. I will request all the dignitaries to please join us on the dais. I would request Professor Amitabh Chakraborty sir. I would request Professor Krishna Mohan Pandey sir, Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma sir, and Professor A.K. Avasthi sir to please come on the dais. In the pursuits of wisdom, we first seek the light that dissolves the shadows of ignorance. To seek the blessing for this intellectual journey, I request our respected Pro Vice Chancellor Sir, Registrar Sir, our dignitaries, and our Director, Dr. Sarvesh Chhatrapati Sir, to kindly come forward and light the lamp.
कैमरे से हट जाइए सामने से
ऊपर से थोड़ा हट जाइए अगर नहीं खींच रहे हैं तो।
I very warmly welcome all our dignitaries to please join us on the dais. Tradition, our compass, and literature is a map to navigate the landscape of the reimagined existence of past, present, and future. Pranam, namaskar, good morning everybody, respected dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, research scholars, and all. I, Saloni Yadav, very humbly welcome you all for today's event.
We gather today for a one-day national conference on reimagining existence, Indian knowledge system, and the role of literature in contemporaneity that seeks to bridge the wisdom of the past with the challenges of the present. Organized by the School of Languages at Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj University in collaboration with Indian Council of Social Science Research. This conference brings together vibrant minds to reflect, rethink, and reimagine.
This conference is not merely an academic gathering. It is a dialogue between the past and present, between tradition and modernity. At this juncture, I would like to invite our director, Dr. Sarveshmani Tripathi, sir, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Saloni. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the School of Languages, CSJM University, Kanpur, I warmly welcome you all here in this inaugural session of one-day national conference, Reimagining Existence, Indian Knowledge System and the Role of Literature in Contemporaneity. This conference is the second conference in this session from the School of Languages, and we are very proud to have very distinguished scholars from the country here in the Senate Hall. We have with us Professor Amitav Chhatrapati sir from Delhi University. We have Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma sir from Nalanda University. We have Professor A.K. Awasthi sir from Sagar University. And we have Professor K.M. Pandey sir from BHU. From the very beginning of this session, we have been doing all the academic activities in the department in the School of Languages, and for that we are perpetually indebted to our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, who has been a guiding source, an inspiration for the school. He is not here in this session and he may join us in the valedictory session as he is busy somewhere, and he has assured us that he will join in the next session. But he has always been a guiding light for us, and we are for that indebted to her. He is not here, but still thank you, Honorable VC sir, for giving us support, moral guidance, and all the things we need as a department. We have, as a chair of this session, Honorable, our Pro Vice Chancellor sir, Professor Sudhir Kumar Awasthi sir. He has always been a guiding light, a pillar of strength to our department and to the whole CSJMU family. Whenever we need anything, we need any academic guidance, we need any administrative suggestion, he is always there. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being with us. We have our respected registrar, sir, always motivating, always helpful. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for being with us. We have all the faculty members from the School of Languages who are obviously source of strength to us. They have always been with us as a team. We have been working together for many years now, and we have started understanding one another and supporting one another in every academic and administrative work. So thank you here for being here. Thank you for being colleagues come family. All our students are obviously source of our strength. They are our strength. They are here. And I'm very sure that they are going to get academic understanding from these kind of academic endeavors. I hope you'll learn here from the various eminent professors of the country, and you feel delighted after this conference. As far as this conference is concerned, Reimagining Existence, Indian Knowledge System and the Role of Literature in Contemporaneity, we find here 3 propositions. First, Reimagining Existence, then second, Indian Knowledge System, and the third one, Role of Literature in Contemporaneity. See, all these things are interrelated. All these 3 propositions are interrelated. But in order to have a holistic understanding of this topic, we need to understand it from the third proposition, role of literature in contemporaneity. What is the role of literature? In shaping the world order, in shaping the understanding of our society. As Edward Said very famously said in his book, The World, the Critic and the Author. He says, texts are worldly, they are events. Even when they offer to deny it, they are part of this world, this society, and obviously the very milieu in which they are born and interpreted. Words are political things. Words shape our understanding of the society, words shape us, our being from the very core, and therefore we cannot remove words from our existence. When we talk about Indian knowledge system, we understand that the need of our is to reinvent the understanding that our traditional civilization had. Why we need to reimagine our existence? We are the oldest civilization in the world. We are the oldest continuous civilization, living civilization in the world, and still we need to reimagine it. Reimagine our civilization, reimagine our existence. What's the need of this reimagination? Here comes the role of literature. Because during colonial period, during the last 300-400 years, colonial period and prior to that, we have been exposed to certain kind of ideas, certain kind of literature, which were political in nature. See, Stalin once remarked that writers are more dangerous than the tanks because writers are engineers of human soul. Tanks destroy certain individuals, certain people, but writers have the capacity to destroy the whole civilization. And here is the power of a writer. When literature starts castigating a society, so that society loses its roots. And colonial literature did the same with the process of colonizing the mind. You see, you'll be surprised that even the most, sympathetic Indologists were having the same kind of mindset, same kind of biased opinions. William Jones proposes, he was obviously considered to be the most sympathetic Indologist who translated various classical texts. He writes that, Indian classical literature should be translated. That is a fact, it is very important to be translated. But then he goes further and says, it must be translated only by European writers, not by Indians. Because Indians are unreliable narrators of their own texts. See, Indian classical texts have been written by our forefathers, and we are unreliable narrators. Why we are unreliable narrators? Because we are kind of narrators who will talk about our own moral values, our own spirituality, and our own ethos. That was against the colonial norms and practices, the whole colonial idea of enlightenment, and that is how he recommends that literature needs to be refashioned in colonial order, in European order. And that is where comes the role of Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system frees us from the colonial hangover, frees us the concept of colonizing the mind, and therefore it is the need of the hour to adopt Indian knowledge system and talk about all these things that were indigenous, that led us to survive for last 10,000 years. We are here because of our tradition, because of our morality, and because of our value system. And as a society, if we need to survive, if we need to march forward, we need to adopt our indigenous cultural ethos. And that is how it's time to explore these ideas and ideals. And we are gathered here to talk about all these things. We have various scholars, obviously they are going to enlighten us with their remarks. So with these words, I stop my presentation, rather stop whatever I have to share with you and hand over the dais to my dignitaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It is now time to formally recognize and honor the distinguished personalities gracing us today. I request Dr. Sarvesh Mani Tripathi, sir, Director, School of Languages, to kindly come forward and felicitate our respected Pro Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Sudhir Kumar Awasthi. May I now request Dr. Ankit Trivedi, sir, to kindly felicitate our Registrar, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Mishra, sir. I would request Dr. Sarvesh, sir, to kindly felicitate Professor Krishna Mohan Pandey, sir. I now request Dr. Prabhat Gaurav Mishra, sir, to kindly felicitate Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, sir.
लाइट इतनी ज़्यादा है मुझे तो बहुत ज़्यादा झुकना पड़ता है मैं
I would now request Dr. Prabhat Gaurav Mishra, sir, to kindly felicitate Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, sir. Request everybody to kindly. I would request Dr. Lakshman Kumar, sir, to kindly felicitate Professor A.K. Awasthi, sir. Lastly, I would like to call upon Dr. Sumana Biswas ma'am. Lastly, I would like to call Dr. Sumana Biswas ma'am to kindly felicitate our Director, Dr. Sarvesh Mani Tripathi, sir.
I would request everybody to please welcome our dignitaries with a huge round of applause.
Moving forward, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, sir, to the podium, a distinguished scholar and Dean of Faculty of Humanities at Guru Kala Kamri Vishwavidyalaya, Haridwar. He serves as the director for the Center for Canadian Studies, and his research interest spans Indian and Western Dalit aesthetics as well as modern poetry and drama. Given his deep expertise in both Eastern and Western aesthetic traditions, we are certain his perspective will greatly enrich our dialogue on reimagining existence. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. chairs and my friends go.
जाओ कल लिया करेंगे।
You know, when retired people are felicitated and introduced, it looks like an obituary. एक अपडेट याद आ रहा है, बैठे थे कर रहे थे ना कि ये जब इंट्रोड्यूस कराते ये वहाँ थे, इन्होंने हमें पढ़ाया था, इन्होंने नहीं पढ़ाया था। होकर रिहा जबकि जाने लगे हैं, होकर रिहा जबकि जाने लगे हैं, दिन बंदिशों के सुहाने लगे हैं, नहीं था पता कौन मुझ में बसा है, मिलने में खुद से जमाने लगे हैं। अब शायद हम अपने आप को दिलाते हैं, अब हमें जब याद दिलाते हैं कि ये वो है एक। और इसी तरह जब when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, वक्त कम है तो बहुत छोटी छोटी बातें सिंबॉलिकली I'll share। एक महाभारत में एक जिक्र आता है, एक छोटी सी कहानी है जिसमें बुद्ध ऋषि हैं और उसको बाद में बुद्ध गीता कहा गया। So some rishis are sitting there and asking him to give sermons, to teach them, कि उपदेश दो आप हमें कुछ। तो बुद्ध ऋषि कहते हैं कि भाई मैं आपको उपदेश तो नहीं दे सकता, कुछ सांकेतिक भाषा में आपको बता सकता हूँ, which I have learned from my teachers, my friends। तो 6 टीचर्स की बात करते हैं उसमें, एक पिंगला है, एक उसमें चिड़िया है, एक सर्प है स्नेक, एक उसमें बर्ड है पपीहा है, और एक उसमें एरो मेकर है, और लास्ट में लड़की। तो उनसे 6 तरह की बातें सीखी। क्या रिन्यूसिएशन है, प्रिजर्वेशन है, आपका गिविंग अप है, नॉन वायलेंस है, अनेक और अनकेत है, जिसको क्या कहते हैं, नॉन अटैचमेंट है, और अलोननेस है। इस तरह की वो बातें करते हैं और सिंबॉलिकली बताते हैं कि मैं सब आपको बता रहा हूँ which I have learned। तो in the same fashion I'll share with you what I have learned from my teachers, and at this moment I really would like to give my tribute to my teacher Professor T.R. Sharma, from whom I learned so many things, and Professor Avasthi is a witness. I think you remember we first met when he was also there, Meerut। तो वो सब जब चले जाते हैं तो इससे कंटिन्यूटी, जैसे IKS है इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम से एक कंटिन्यूटी है, ये एक विचिन्न परंपरा है। तो मुझे लगता है ये हम एक ओरल ट्रेडिशन में कहीं ज्यादा सीखते हैं किताबों पढ़ने की बजाय। तो आज जितना हम पढ़ते हैं उससे ज्यादा हमने उनसे सीखा है सुन के, और आज वो जब लोग वहाँ नहीं है तो मुझे वही लगता है, बड़ा कमी सी महसूस होती है। शायद ये आप लोग आओगे आपको भी लगेगा कि कहाँ गए वो लोग जो मेरे आदाब पर कह दिया करते थे जीते लोग। तो ये शायद हमारी परंपरा में है, ये हमारी जो एक कंटिन्यूटी है, एक कम्युनिटी इफेक्ट है, एक जो कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एक नेचर है उसमें। लेकिन एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज आती है, जब आपने कहा टाइटिल रीइमेजिनिंग, जब भी हम इमेजिनिंग हो या रीइमेजिनिंग हो, देन वी हैव डिलेमा। और ये अब से नहीं है, ये शुरू से है डिलेमा। हम अगर वेदों से भी शुरू करते हैं तो वेदों में भी सारे मंत्र बिखरे पड़े हैं और उनमें बड़ा डिलेमा है। डिलेमा बिटवीन कंटेम्परेरी कैलमस वर्ल्ड एंड द रियलाइजेशन ऑफ द स्पिरिचुअल मैन। कौन से किसको चुने? तो कहते हैं कि उसमें हिरण्यगर्भा संवर्तताग्रे भूतस्य जात पत्रे के आसी सैदादार पृथ्वी जामुतेमाम कस्मै देवाय हर्षाल। एवरी टाइम देयर इज अ रिफ्रेन, कस्मै देवाय हर्षाल, व्हिच गॉड आई शुड ऑफर माय ऑब्लिशन। मैं किसको चुनूं? और आज भी वही समस्या है, क्योंकि वेस्ट की एक रिसोर्सेज है, एक ड्यूटी है, एक क्लेमर है, और एक हमारा एक सोच है जिसमें एक एथिकल इम्प्लीकेशंस की बात हो। फिर वी फील डिफिकल्ट कि हम किसको चुने, कहाँ चुने, कैसे हो, उसकी शुरुआत कहाँ से करें। देन कलाम, you know, in his ignited words, he gives the solution. You need to make a balance. क्या है वो balance? And he talks about that the West has a beautiful bowl full of resources, material pleasures, possessions, but the West doesn't have its key to navigate. The key is within it. और क्या है वो key? Then you have to go to next one. Next one, he wrote a book, India, What Can It Teach Us? In in the book, there are Max Muller's addresses to ICS candidates for India. And there he talks about three things. He was also defeated in addressing the candidates. This is what he says in the book. But मुझे लगा कि मैं क्या करूं? What should I tell them? So then I thought what I have read I should share with them. So he talks about India. India की there are three things, and these three things are एक कौन सा country है कि मुझे somebody ask me which is that country which is full of or which is richly endowed with power, glory, beauty that the nature can best do. I should point to India. दूसरी बात उन्होंने कही कि what is that place where the human mind has fully developed. Then he says I should point to India, and the third thing says if somebody asks me where is that literature which has the capacity to make the inner being most comprehensive, more universal, more human, a life, not for this life, but a transfigured eternal life, that I should point to India. And the common denominator was why he says this, कि अगर कोई पूछे कि जो जीवन के बारे में जो सवाल हैं, उन सवालों का उत्तर कहाँ मिलेगा? So I open the map of the world and I put my finger on the Himalayas. This is what the key. हम वेस्ट तो हैं, वेस्ट के रिसोर्सेज हैं, we are well equipped. But अब जब आती है हमें बात कि हम कहाँ करें, जब हम IKS की बात आती है, एक डिलेमा होता है कि अगर IKS की बात करें तो फिर ये जो हमारा सारा पैराफिन है, we have to leave it. So then Kalam says we have to make a balance. What your Max Muller says, and then Kalam comes to Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy में अगर हम देखें, चाहे बुद्धिज्म की बात करें, you are talking about Jain system of philosophy, या फिर आपके जो 6 systems हैं, उसमें आपका चाहे सांग हो, योग हो, आपका वैशेषिक हो, न्याय हो, या फिर मीमांसा हो, वेदांत, एक सब में कॉमन है चीज कि रियलिटी इज मल्टीसाइडेड. ऑब्जेक्टिव वर्ल्ड है मल्टीसाइडेड एंड ट्रूथ इज मल्टीलेयर्ड. ये अब जब आप देख रहे हैं इसको, आप एक दूसरे को देख रहे हैं, यू आर फोकसिंग ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर साइड एंड दैट्स अ रियलिटी टू यू, बट फॉर अदर्स रियलिटी डिफरेंट. सो देयर इज नो फाइनलिटी and you are been emotionally responding to an object that is truth or the other truth. So it's multi-layered. So one should not have that dilemma. But yes, we need to have in mind that we need to reduce the difference. वो जो हमारी सारी Indian philosophy जो IKS में है, the central word is reduce your difference. कैसे difference करें? While you are in a state of being, a state of happiness. कहाँ पर है? तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद है. तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद को एक्सप्लेन करता है. तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद में वरुण ऋषि हैं. You know the way we have today seminars. In those days they had their own conference seminars named Shahu, and where all ऋषि used to communicate and asking questions related to this life. So if we just evoke those things, those questions. So Varun is just talking to other rishis about Brahma. What is Brahma? When they are talking about how to reduce your difference, then he says, let me tell you about Brahma. क्या है? What is that Brahma? So he explains Brahma what it is. And then Raghu, this small child sitting there, son of Varun, asking later on, asking his father, tell me also about what Brahma is. क्या है Brahma की बात करते हो? और ये आज प्रॉब्लम है. हम जब दो चीजों को लेकर बड़ी प्रॉब्लम होती है, एक ब्रह्म को लेकर कि जैसे हमने ब्रह्म की बात की कि अब ये बोर करेंगे कुछ ना कुछ, या कोई धर्म की बात की, बिकॉज नाउ दे आर बीइंग मिसइंटरप्रेटेड. चाहे हम धर्म की बात करें और चाहे हम ब्रह्म की बात करें, बट ब्रह्म इज नथिंग टू बी एसोसिएटेड विद एनी काइंड ऑफ धर्म, एनी काइंड ऑफ रिलीजन, एनी काइंड ऑफ फिलॉसफी. इट इज जस्ट अ वे ऑफ लिविंग. तो कहते हैं कि जो बताते हैं उसे कि व्हाट इज दिस tell me what this Brahma is. So you go to forest, take finance, you will realize what dharma is, what Brahma is. So tell me, how will I recognize it? How will I understand it? And it says that Brahma is from which we are born, Brahma is by which we live, Brahma is by which we grow, and Brahma is which we ultimately march. ये है पहचान अब आप जाओ. So he realizes first annam brahmeti, कि अन्न है gross cosmic person, that is your Brahma. Brahma said no. Then second time go, comes back, and then says prano brahmeti vijna, then mano brahmeti vijna. He realizes as vital ears as Brahma, then mind as Brahma, then Vigyan as Brahma, or Gyan, knowledge as Brahma, and ultimately comes back looking at the world, sitting with all happiness, having no difference with animate in animate, and says, this is Anand, nothing else. So he comes to Brahma and says, Brahma is nothing but a state of happiness, a state of bliss, where you do not have difference, when you reduce your difference with others. यही सारा दर्शन है कि हम बात करते हैं कि हम चाहे वोट हमारी कोई भी हो, वेस्टर्न, ईस्टर्न, कोई भी हो, but we should not have that भेद. भेद को जितना हम कर ले अपने आप, और वो भेद हमारे philosophy में, you will find that you should reduce your भेद, reduce your difference. That is demonstrated in philosophy, that is in science, that is in Indian science, Indian Ayurveda you talk about, that is in your Indian management, that is in the literature. हम जहाँ भी देखें वहीं वो एक बात करते हैं उसी भेद की, कि वो जो है भेद अगर उसको कम कर लेंगे, एक उसमें एग्जाम्पल देते हैं महाभारत पुराण में. क्या है वो? उसमें एक छोटी सी कहानी है कि व्यास जी आफ्टर एडिटिंग ऑल whole corpus of government of Indian knowledge traditions, is sitting one day in his house and worried what to do next. जो हम सबकी आजकल प्रॉब्लम है, all intellectuals, कि एक आर्टिकल लिखने के बाद क्या करें, एक PhD करने के बाद अब क्या करेंगे हम, एक किताब लिख ली तो क्या करेंगे. So that intellectual anxiety is there. तो Shukdev asked him to wait, and he said, I have taken vow, take penance. I'll go to वानप्रस्थ. व्यास जी कहते हैं, I am old man, मैं तो वैसे बहुत परेशान हूँ, मैं सोचता था you will look after me when I become old. And you say you are going, leaving me all alone. Then I have decided. So he put off his clothes और बिल्कुल अपने कपड़े उतारकर नहीं जाने लगे फौज की तरफ. And surreptitiously व्यास जी following. व्यास जी ने देखा कि कहाँ जाते हैं. व्यास जी ने देखा एक जगह एक लेक है, pass by a lake where the young girls are taking bath. So all they kept taking their bath. But जब वो व्यास जी वहाँ पर पहुँचे, they came out of the pond and said, "Yo, व्यास जी coming. Put up your clothes." तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये मुझे तुम कह रहे हो, you are just like my daughters, my young son all naked pass by you and you bring bath. And when I am coming to you, तब आप मुझसे कह रहे हो व्यास जी कब आ रहे हैं, put on your clothes. And they beautifully they say through them Vyasji gives a message. They say that there is a difference in perception of things in your eyes, but that difference in perception of things that is evaporated from the eyes of yours. So that भेद is there. जो हमारे जो issues हैं, जो भेद तो जो gender के issues हों, हमारे सवर्ण के दलित के issues हों, जो भी all contemporary issues are there. There is only that, but that's in theory. वो जो भेद है, that has been demonstrated, manifested through literature. जो Indian aesthetics में, when we talk about Rasa Brahmavad, we talk about Nada Brahmavad, we talk about Vastu Brahmavad. If I talked about, Rasa Brahmavad, whole Rasa Brahmavad has been demonstrated by Rajshekar. Rajshekar wrote a book, Mimamsa. And Mimamsa, he was asked, what is Kavya? What is Kavya Purush? And Kavya Purush kya hai? Then he talks about the languages. He talks about Sanskrit language, he talks about dialects, Prakrit, he talks about Apabhransh, he talks about Prakrit, and then he talks about mixed language. But he does not talk about soul. What is the soul of Kavya? they understand the soul of काव्य, the soul of literature in their own way. Bharat says it's Ras. Vaman says, and Bhama says it's Alankar. Vaman says it's Riti, and Anudhan says it's Dhani, and then Kuntak says it's your Vakrokti, and then Kshemin says this is your Ochit. थोड़े शब्द लगते हैं कठिन, but we do it in our daily life. हम रोज बात करते हैं, रस आ गया है. हम फ्रेजल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जब बात करते हैं कि फ्रेजेस कहते हैं, उसको रीति कहते हैं, जैसे फ्रेजल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, तो हम रोज जब कहते हैं, हम जो भी whatever we do, there is a cause, there is an effect, and there is emotion. कारण है, कार्य है और भाव है. And Bharat says this is vibhav anubhav vichari combination, integration. So this foundation of Bharat is based on the real reality of life. And Vaman talks about phrasal organization. कैसे हो कि जो हम गीत गाते हैं, जो phrasal organization without compound, वहाँ compounds ना. Then we have small compounds and we have long compounds. There are three kinds of compounds in language where we should use language and creatively. भाषा तब तक भाषा है जब तक हम उसे क्रिएटिवली यूज करते हैं. And what is important there? विचार. If it doesn't have cognitive value, it doesn't have cognition, it doesn't have cognitive factor, it doesn't have vichar, idea, it's not language. Communication is not language. The Western concept is that of the communication, but our concept is that of cognitive value. And the second thing, it should be constructivist approach. It should create. एक जो शब्द बोलते हैं आप, मैंने एक रस शब्द बोला, and you have your own रस. मैं तो गजल सुनाकर अकेला खड़ा रहा, सब लोग अपने चाहने वालों में हो गए. तो ये जो बात कही, हर आदमी का अपना एक चाहने वाला है, हर आदमी का अपना एक सोच है, हर आदमी का एक अपना एक आइडिया है. This is what has been explained in all Indian studies through phrasal organization. वहाँ से this is शब्दार्थों से तो काव्य, जो शब्द हैं, अर्थ हैं, that is integration of that. That is the beauty of this काव्य. That is the soul of this language, soul of काव्य. Like this, so we have total, see here, if you see, right on your Pandit Raj Jagannath from Bharat to 7th century, you would find all writers dealing with this drum. कैसे है drum, कैसे reduce होता है, कैसे demonstrate करता है. You can read one more book by Osho, where he has also explained this idea. Idea that is zero that we find in our Buddhism also. When Nagarjuna is talking about Shunyavad. So Shunyavad, Brahmavad, ruling difference, or Kav Anand, Brahma Anand, they are one and the same thing. तो उसको वो कैसे करते हैं? डिमोन्स्ट्रेट कैसे करता है कि आप एक गजल सुनते हैं, आपने एक कविता सुनी, एक फिल्म देखी. What happens? So we all of us under the same roof, in spite of the fact that we might have difference with others, but we undergo the same kind of experience. Of course, there will be a difference of degree. डिग्री का अंतर हो सकता है. कुछ कम मूव हो, कुछ ज्यादा मूव हो जाए, कुछ रोने लगे, और ऐसा कोई नहीं होगा जो हंसे. अगर हंसेगा then something is wrong with the candidate, with the reader, with the spectator. तो वो जो होता है हमारा, we undergo the same experience. एक अच्छी सी हमने एक शेर सुना, एक अच्छा सा गाना सुना, एक अच्छी सी मूवी देखी. For time being, we are not subjective, we are not objective, we are not this. We enter into suprahuman state for the time being. Some एक different, that is the temporary state of Brahma. If you look into your state of mind, you are sensitive, you are insensitive, you are dull, you are pointed, and you are meditative. You oscillate between them. दो मिनट में ही आप. When you are talking to your teacher, you are in a particular state. Talking to your friends, in a different state. And somebody coming with whom you have a quarrel, then you have different state of mind. So you are oscillating. Oscillate क्यों कर रहे हो आप? Because we do not control. So the result that we need to enter into conscious meditative state. ये conscious meditative state ऐसे नहीं कि प्राणायाम से आएगी, but you need to be sensitive. You have to have a sensation. You have to give a command. तो हम इसी तरह से हमारे there ways. अब कोई philosophy के through हो, literature के through हो, through sermons हो, आपकी good company हो, इसी तरह से हो. So there are ways in IKS. But problem क्या है हमारे साथ? वैसे तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है. कितने रंग इस नगर के देखो, सितारे रात में अंबर के देखो. बड़ी दिलचस्प है ये गोश्त दुनिया, जो चाहो इसमें रंग भर के देखो. हम कितने भर सकते हैं? ये सारे रंग हैं IKS में, लगते तो हैं, बट व्हाट इज आयरनी? प्राइड क्या है? प्रॉब्लम क्या है हमारे साथ? That is all there in theory. We have humanities, we have amendment, we have technology, we have science. IKS, in IKS, you can browse sometime if you have time. In 2010, we did a project on Indian knowledge tradition and practices of India. It was a CBSE project, and there are 25 modules. These modules are on all modern subjects, science and technology. तो उन सब में अगर आप you will find, but we create material, we read them, and in oral tradition we pass on, but still they are not the part of our academics. They are not the part of our education system. हम बात तो करते हैं, and what as a result, what happened then? Then as a result, either we accept them blindly or we reject them blindly. तो अब जब भी हम बातें करते हैं, हम आजकल तो ऐसे नहीं, क्योंकि आजकल बाढ़ आई हुई IKS पर. Every third day you have a seminar on IKS. सब हम उसकी बात करेंगे. But really, this is not the matter of having seminars. जब होता ही थी, US में बुला करते थे सब लोगों को, full bright बुला करते थे उनको. So all we half bright become full bright there. Commonwealth मिलती थी. केरला में जाते थे, शास्त्री फेलोशिप हम लोग सब जाते थे. But there, if you go there, they will not going to listen to you about Western literature, about English literature. They ask you about yourself. आप बताओ जरा अपने बारे में आप. पर हम भी आज क्या है, उसके बावजूद in spite of all facts, आज भी हम नहीं पढ़ना चाहते हैं. तो जब तक हमारे यहाँ हम लोग लगा तो देते हैं, एक पेपर लगाते हैं इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम का, that is ऑप्शन होता है, उससे कोई पढ़ाता नहीं है ना पढ़ता है. फिर हम वो हाई मैना हुआ वाली बात करते हैं, ये हमारे यहाँ कोई पढ़ता नहीं है, हम पढ़ाते नहीं हैं, वेस्ट के पीछे भी भागते हैं, बिकॉज वी डू नॉट हैव ब्रेड, वी हैव ब्रेड. हम अगर पढ़ें तो हम पढ़ा सकते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कि आजकल वी नीड टू ब्रिंग आउट द लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन्स ऑफ IKS. हम एक सब्जेक्ट पे बात करते हैं, उसकी हम बात करें, लेकिन शायद सिर्फ हमारी एक डिस्कशंस आर्बिट्ररी और वन साइड डिस्कशंस हो जाते हैं. हम लोग वी टेक इट वेरी लाइट वे कि ठीक है, एक ये भी सेमिनार होनी है, एक कॉन्फ्रेंस होनी है. बट दिस इज माय सबमिशन टू माय यंग फ्रेंड्स, अपने बच्चे अंग्रेजी आप नहीं छोड़ सकते, वो तो पढ़ ही पड़ेगा. यू शुड नो इफ यू वांट टू रियली कन्वे द मैसेज ऑफ इंडिया इन द वर्ल्ड. पर हमें अपनी एक नॉलेज है, जो अपना ज्ञान है, अगर वो परंपरा नहीं आती है तब आप हाफ ब्राइट हैं. नौकरी तो आपको मिल सकती है, नौकरी मिल जाएगी टेम्परेरी, but really thereafter what's happening there in society, we suffered thereafter. समाज जो society है, society does not mean a congregation, but it means a people, those who are conscious of their duty, the dharma है, duty to do something to do for the society, something to do good to the society. And when we are implementing that duty, that dharma, that is your संस्कृति, that is your culture, वो हमारे पास नहीं है, तो फिर मुझे लगता है अब नहीं तो फिर कभी शायद अभी नहीं पढ़ेंगे हम लोग. फिर हम पढ़ेंगे जैसे आज हम कौन सी किताबें पढ़ते हैं, when the things come through to us through वेंडी डोनिकर. तो वेंडी डोनिकर की जब किताब आती है, then we oh this is on Indian knowledge systems. तो हम ऐसा नहीं है, हमारे पहले भी लोग कह चुके हैं, Max Muller has given all thoughts. जर्मन राइटर्स हैव गिवन देयर ओन थॉट्स, फ्रेंच गिवन ओन थॉट्स, उनको हम पढ़ें और हमारी जो अपना जो सिस्टम है उन सिस्टम को हम थोड़ा थोड़ा, जो बड़ी सस्ती किताबें 10-10 रुपये की किताबें आ जाती हैं और बड़ी they are giving you all prescriptions of real life situation. योग सूत्र है, इन योग सूत्र में ही टॉक्स अबाउट कि क्या करना है, वो कैसे रहना चाहिए, कि मैत्री करुणा मुक्ति उपेक्षा. मैंने अभी कल आ रहा था यहाँ पर देखते थे, जो शब्द वर्ड इज ऑल्सो ब्रह्म, शब्द ब्रह्म है. एक कहीं करुणा मार्ग मैंने लिखा देखा, तो शब्द की अपनी इट हैज इट्स ओन कैपेसिटी, इट्स ओन स्ट्रेंथ. ये कहते हैं तो मैत्री करुणा मुक्ति उपेक्षा, कि जो आपको अच्छा लगे यू बिकम फ्लिप. और क्या होता है, यू बिकम जेलस. कोई दुखी आदमी है, यू शुड बी कंपैशनेट, बट वी स्टार्ट सेइंग नो नो, it has become their commercial act है ये उनका. And then if somebody is dutiful, we should be happy, but हम होते नहीं है, we start criticizing. And third, जो सबसे खराब आदमी है, the whole day we should be indifferent to him, पर हम होते नहीं है, but we talked about whole day, वो आदमी बड़ा खराब है. So these are certain prescriptions in Indian knowledge systems. चाहे हम आपकी एकेडमिक्स की बात करें, हम स्टैटिस्टिक्स की बात करें, हम कॉग्निटिव वैल्यू की बात करें, फिलॉसफी की बात करें, टेक्निकल की बात करें, शिपबिलिटी की बात करें, वो एवरीथिंग इज देयर. पर हाँ, हम उनकी बहुत सारी बातें कर सकते हैं, पर थोड़ी थोड़ी चीजों को भी इफ वी कैन प्लान रिपोजिंग आवर फेथ, आई थिंक वी कैन चेंज द सोसाइटी. तो हम जो भी बात करें हाउ वी कैन चेंज सोसाइटी. कभी कभी लगता है कि बड़ी बड़ी बातें हैं, कैसे हो जाएगी, कैसे होती है सोसाइटी. ऐसे नहीं है कि इन अ मोमेंट इट चेंजेस, द मोमेंट वी डिसाइड. तो हम लोग शायद एक लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन आए, इनको अपने टेक्स्ट में लगाएं, पढ़ें. मुझे लगता है दे विल बी चेंज. आई होप सच काइंड ऑफ सेमिनार्स दे विल ब्रिंग लाइट टू सोसाइटी एंड पर्टिकुलर टू द यंग पीपल. मुझे लगता है कि ये सब आप लोगों के लिए है जो नए लोग हैं. तो हम लोग जो पुराने हैं ना, हम तो पुराने घड़े की तरह हैं. कपूर साहब थे, वो कहा करते थे कि पुराने घड़े हैं हम लोग. हम मुस्कुरा सकते हैं बैठे हुए, हम फूट जाएंगे पर बदलेंगे. बट देयर आर चांसेस विद यंग पीपल, यू कैन चेंज सोसाइटी. हम सब यही कहते हैं कि नहीं, आप लोग बदल सकते हैं और कुछ नहीं करना है आपको. आप थोड़ा थोड़ा अपने बारे में जानें. वी शुड नो अबाउट होम, आवर ओन होम, आवर हाउस. हम जो भी चीज है, जो चीजें हम कर रहे हैं विदाउट नोइंग, जिस दिन हम समझ जाएंगे, कॉन्शियसली वी बिकम कॉन्शियस अबाउट आवर ट्रेडिशन, आई विल बी डिफरेंट पर्सन. तो आज भी हम जब बाहर जाते हैं, कहीं जाते हैं, तो आज भी वैल्यूज को हमारे पीपल, वी आर नोन बाय आवर वैल्यू. वैल्यू डज नॉट मीन टू बी बैकवर्ड, टू बी ट्रेडिशनल. It's just an unthinking process of those who do. So I hope with that I welcome you to engage yourself with the tradition. गुलाम में रंग भरे आधे में बाहर चले, चले भी आओ, गुलशन का कारोबार चले. Thank you.
Very rightly said. In vain is that knowledge which you have acquired and not imparted to others. And I think the world has been witness India imparting this knowledge since the beginning of civilization. Thank you very much, sir. Moving forward, we have with us Professor Krishna Mohan Pandey, sir, from the Department of English at Banaras Hindu University. With over 4 decades of teaching experience, his scholarship is deeply rooted in the study of 18th century British poetry, Sanskrit poetics, and Indian English literature. Beyond the classroom, he has authored influential works. His extensive research also includes a major UGC project exploring the intersection of Mahabharata with contemporary Indian fiction. May I now request you to kindly come forward and enlighten us.
Guys, dear participants, am I audible? Professor Sharma has made my job easy as well as difficult. He has touched upon so many issues. This is what life is. You think a lot, it is so vast, and then you know your time is very short. And your Shastra says, Alpashcha kalo bhavascha vidya vigna. So what should you do? like the Rajhans, you should spend your time on the righteous things and the things that you want. Again, what do you want? This is a difficult question. I looked at the theme and the sub-themes of the seminar, and I found that I think I should talk about one or two of them. Literature as mirror, ancient texts and contemporary thought, and I should leave the third one. I know the time is very short. As per the program, we'll all transgress that, at least I. And interdisciplinary approaches, literature, art and spirituality. And the brochure says literature as mirror of society, ancient texts and contemporary thoughts. Think of the other word, the word that we have in art edition, literature, the opposite of it, Sahitya. Is it the only word? Vangmay, Vagar, Vagish, Shabd, four stages of language, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. We have been only at these two levels. Para is seen by a few, realized by a few. We find that in the form of the Vedas. Pashyanti, someone can see it happening. Remember, it is a different kind of world. I am not the last one to have all knowledge. But I have seen, you too may see that. So this kind of thing, Shruti, Smriti, Kavya, you have heard like Kamdhenu and Kalpavrich. While entering this hall, I've been associated with the university for more than 2 decades. And I have seen these changes. But this time it was different. And I was reminded of the national poet of Singapore, Edwin Thumboo, who wrote that poem, Ulysses by the Merlion. Entering there and find something new. So Manasa Vacha Karmana, you think about something and you convert that into a reality. It doesn't finish your work. What for? And therein you get the meaning of life. What is the ultimate meaning? Meaning of life. What for? We have 6 forms, 6 sections of Vedanta. Shiksha, Kalp, Vyakarana, Jyotish, Nirukta and Chandano. Entering into that, sir, refer to that. Kavya as contingent and then individual. To talk about philosophy, structure, grammar, I am reminded of Professor Kapoor. He referred to him. We all have learnt a lot from him by hearing him, seeing him, and seeing him on the printed page as well, which is very vast again. And one man doing it all in his life. We have another person here, Professor Avasti, who have been a kind of mentor to many of us I know. And when I say this, I mean generations of people. This is again another form of tradition. But what for? We thought of making a building. Yes, the idea, not in the sense of Plato, twice removed from reality. No, the reality converted here in a concrete form. हम तो अपने ईश्वर को भी कहते हैं यहीं आओ. Come here and I will do your पार्थिव पूजन. Sit here as long as I am worshipping you, and then please go. It has a message. We are here for a short while, doing our duty. Again the problem, what is the duty? Knowing oneself, who am I? Has been a basic question everywhere. And Shankaracharya says, Koham, Soham. But again, not just that. That Thomas, you too are the same. The extension of that, the tradition gives us two options, and they continue to be meaningful even now. Shreya and prayer, nivritti and pravritti. What for? Somebody becoming a saint, a sannyasi? No, no, not this. It was again a basic issue. Our Puranas say Brahma wanted to create this world, first of all, Brahma, genderless. We should remember, we should not forget. Genderless was bored, divided. It is our problem with the language that we say himself or herself into two, and from that Pati and Patni came, and then the universe was created. He created four sons, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar, Sanatan, and said, go and just make this world beautiful. And the first question came, why? Because you have given me birth. We are not interested in all this. तुम रखो अपना, तुमने बनाया है. And all of them reject the order of the father, Brahma, and say, okay, you can do only thing ousting. This is what happened. We all remember Hamlet. And also Milton's Paradise Lost. It begins with this basic issue of man's first disobedience. Transgressed and you are ousted, and then this earth is created. Here is another world view. No, I don't want that. I'll go away. Asking questions, basic questions, is it a form of jigyasa, kautuhal, or to tease the other? We should also remember this. We remember how Yadavas were destroyed because in a state of drunkenness they did this thing. Okay, ask this rishi, does he really know? And the Musal is there, and what is there? The son will be born or a daughter. And he says, whatever is born out of this, it will destroy your whole clan. And it is said that all those pieces, they were converted into a dust and sent to the sea, drowned, and from that the arrows were made, and the Yadavas killed themselves, the sons of Krishna. They did that. So asking questions, right questions, have been our tradition. So referred to the Natya Shastra, the Rasa, I won't go into that, but one thing, it begins with a question. 5 questions, they are basic questions. You may change the form of the question and it is relevant for you. What is this? What for? How? For whom? So Prayog and Siddhi, when a play is performed, you say that whether you have enjoyed, you have got the message, shared it, you say yes, Siddh ho gaya. And from Siddhi you get the word Siddh. Sahi ho gaya, Safal ho gaya. That kind of thing. So Shreya and pray, Upanishads talk about that, okay? Worldly, or that you say divine, for yourself, for the body or for the soul. I come from a university established by Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji. And he didn't want even heaven is smaller. Look at this very frame. You do good, you go to heaven. You do bad deeds, you go to hell. And in your tradition, you have place like Vaikuntha. 7 layers above the earth and 7 below. 14 bhuvan hai. And now it is proven. You can get something just isle, gold, diamond, and then you realize it is Ratnagarbha, and so is the sea. So this kind of thing. He said, I don't want even apunarbhav. Na tuham kamai rajyam na swargam na punarbhavam. Not even that. So Shreya and pray. The word in the brochure was tradition and modernity. This is the problem of all of us who have forgotten our tradition and have started thinking within the frame given to us are accepted by us coming from the West. Because the word tradition is not translated by any Indian scholar as parampara. Parampara is not tradition. And if it is equated with the tradition, you will not use the other word modernity. It can't come with that. But look at your research home there, where all the dissertations are listed now. Show the Ganga. You'll find hundreds of subtitles as tradition and modernity in the poetry of so and so, fiction of so and so. You find it can't be translated that. It is not that nothing is good there, but it is not good for certain terms can't be translated. So Sanatan, when you say Nitya Nutan Sanatan, I remember Acharya Hajjari Prasad Dwivedi in one lecture referred to it, explained it this way. Chalat ekena paden, tishtat ekena pandita. A wise person moves with one leg on the ground and the other in the sky. Without knowing the future ground, a wise person will not put the second leg. And he said, the leg, the foot that is on the earth is the foot of tradition. The other one is that of modernity sense, in the Western sense, unknown one. You do not know, so without knowing where we are placing our leg in the unknown, without that we should not do where, what for. So refer to this thing. The problem was we kept on accepting it as a given. It is the time to think of this Swaraj in ideas. Again, the word Swaraj can't be translated. You think of Gandhi. You may think of K.C. Bhattacharya. You may think of Sri Aurobindo. Dozens of thinkers will come, and then you will realize again it comes from self-rule. And what is self? And if your memory is good, if you just brush up the dust from it, you may remember Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, where he says, Are Atma va are drashtavya, shrotavya, mantavyaschya. All that is for your own soul. The husband is dear not because you love him. You love him for your own soul. The wife is dear, and so on goes the analogy. Whatever you do it for your own joy, your own happiness. Our problem is what makes us happy we do not know. When Tulsidas writes Ramcharitmanas, what does he say? Swanta sukha, aapko acha lage na lage, main apne liye likh raha hu. But the swa becomes so great that you find your own soul submerged in that. So it is this kind of thing that we should think of. There has been the other paradigm. We are spiritual, and the West thinks in terms of wealth, in terms of modernity. We are spiritual and otherworldly, and they are worldly. And he also referred to Edward Said. Yes. So worldly. Isn't it? We talked about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All the best kinds of forms at the level of dharma, even at the level of earth. Kam is not just sex. All kinds of desires. The opposite of it you have nishkam. Nishkam karma yoga, it is not just the physical pleasure. Think of the opposites. A.K. Ramanujan, while translating that novel Sanskar, many of us must have read that. He said it can't be translated because in English you have only two words. One is rite, R-I-T-E, and the other is ritual. Whereas when you use the word sanskar, you think of all those 16 ones. Before your birth and even after your death. And the concept changes. The frame changes. We have to think of this. When you enter Banaras in the university, you find there is a faculty. When you enter the women's college and then SVDV, the short form doesn't give you the meaning. Sanskrit Vidya Dharma Vigyan Sankar. Dharma Vigyan. Human sciences, religious sciences, and then technology. In the last you find engineering college, now IIT, within the campus. The Prayog, the Siddhant, theory, principle, and then the experimentation. You can use the word jugaad for that, and you find it is the lower level of, it gives you a lower level of meaning. Jugaad is just how this can be fulfilled. How this building is there, you need some pillar, temporary pillar, and you have to remove after that. And so is our life. Think of the flowers, especially for, I am giving this as a task to my young students who are here. Gulhar ka phool dekha, koi bhi phool. When you break the flower, a small stick is left there. What happens to that stick? Yes? It stays there for some time and then falls down. If the flower is not broken, dries up and dies, lives its life, I should say, it doesn't die, it has lived its life for a day or a week or a month, and when it flies, the supporting stick falls down. It has lived its life, it has given full meaning to it, and its job is over. We look at our life in this way as well, not just birth and death. Sir gave the concept of this river, origin, avirbhav, pravah, punarbhav, and laya, or submersion. Submersion is fulfillment. The river reaches the sea and its job is over. Sometimes it is visible, sometimes it is not. When we attain this knowledge, we realize the meaning of life. You realize, you may remember Raja Rao, waves are nothing but water, so is the sea. राजा राव याद रहते हैं, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोगों ने उनसे पहले कहा है. He has just quoted his Guru Atmanand, Sanskrit text. Guru Atmanand has taken it from Shankaracharya. Look at the tradition. Just 1000 years. Within 1000 years, one person to the other, and it keeps on coming. So, there is another word, Nyas, he referred to. Is trustee. We should remember we are a trustee. We keep on accusing the West. Yes, right we are. Because we know we were not just bird of gold. We were really gold. And that's why we left Sone ki Lanka. उस ज़माने में भी छोड़ दिया हमने. Yes, यद्यपि स्वर्णमयी लंका न मे लक्ष्मण रोचते जननी जन्मभूमिश्च स्वर्गादपि गरीयते. We look at one frame. But even after all the looting, up to 18th century, remember, just 200 years, even after looting, by so many, including the British, we had 25% of the world GDP. 25% of the world GDP. You may think of Dharampal, his book, The Beautiful Tree, how our schools were, how many Gurukulas were there in India, and how they were destroyed. All right, destroyed. 75 years we are independent. Now we can't say the Britishers are destroying us or the Americans are destroying us. We should think of how will we grow. So which frame is there? We are continuing the earlier tradition. I remember a great professor Sahitya Academy Award winner's disciple, and telling this thing. Just I won't name him. Soul should rest in peace. If he can get so. I have much respect for him. Yes, he loved me so much. But तुमको तो समझदार समझता था. तुम Indian में कहाँ फंस गए? I was given the assignment of Tagore and Sri Aurobindo, and that was the reaction from him. अरे शेक्सपियर को पढ़ाओ, मिल्टन को पढ़ाओ. ये Indian. Shakuntala in skirt and Matthew Arnold in sari. Gone are the days. So we should think of our texts in our own way. We know more about the West and less about ourselves. And the whole exercise is to know yourself, know then thyself. That has been our goal. And what have we done? We know more about the West than about ourselves. So if I ask you about the last dates, 1781, 85, 89, 91, 98, what is so significant? The answer from any of the students. 1781, 1785, 1789, 1798, French Revolution. 1789, 1798, the lyrical ballads were published. Yes, we all know, I too remember that. But who will remember that? That the Gita was translated into English? 1781, 85 reached England, and it found a place in the mental horizon of William Blake, William Wordsworth, and so many. We know more about Hamlet, but very less about Shakuntala, very less about the Natya Shastra. We should also remember that we might have lost that had the Britishers not been there, Europeans not been there. We must acknowledge this contribution, their upkar for us. Because we had one tradition, apatre nahi jatavyam. Look at the eligibility. One who doesn't deserve should not be given. Because it may be like a bhasmasur. So the undeserving shouldn't get it. But in that very process, even the deserving do not get it. Unless we found the place of Bhas, we thought Kalidas is our first poet and a dramatician. First dramatician. But then the plays were found, and then we realized this still goes back. And he becomes our first writer, first dramatist. So this kind of thing, I would think about this continuity by taking up two known examples. But before that, who has stopped us from not reading Indian texts? Who will do that? Include them in your syllabus. Read it there. The best thing would be the whole British literature compressed in one semester. And the other 3 semesters or 5 semesters or 6 semesters to Indian texts. And again you will notice the problem. We were discussing it with Professor Chhatrapati. 22 languages, and you think of a paper in Indian literature in translation, how much? What to include and what to exclude, and you will find more space there. You will have to create more space. That is just one thing. The power of questioning, right questions, and then the basics do not change. The basic remains the same. The base may be different. Remember again, what was basic for sir was not basic for me, is not basic for my student, because the base has changed. You have entered this hall. You require certain stairs. You require certain stairs when you go deeper also. The other way, how we have preserved water in different parts. Go to Rajasthan and you'll find in a part, सबसे कम है, but they know the value of water. They have known how to preserve it. What was the technology? How was it available and passed on from one generation to the other? Which plant will grow where is not the responsibility of only the environmental scientists. They can't help us. You have to think about, and that means you should know your whereabouts, your own place, your own atmosphere. And if you want to change, no need, someone else will not come. You have to be your own change. This was what Gandhi had said. Don't think that someone will come and give you freedom. You had given your freedom to the British. They had not taken it from you. So 1781, we don't remember that there was a queen like Chennamma. As long as she was alive, her palace, which she had regained from the British, they could not attack that. We remember Queen of Jhansi, we remember Avanti Bai, we remember Durgavati, but we do not remember so many. Who will tell us? If you think of feminism, it begins with the West. Why? It hasn't succeeded here in our tradition. Because you had that scope, it was not straight jacketed that way. We became independent, and on the very first day, all of us, the king, the queen, the rickshaw puller, the farmer, they all became equal in the eyes of the constitution. Other categories would remain, they will remain. But in that very eye, each one was equal. It was not so in the West also. Okay. The second thing, the continuity. I'll pick up just one example, one or two examples. And I've seen the slip. Yes, I know. I'm transcribing the time. That is also a kind of insult. Yes, violence with time, violence with space, which is not yours and you sit. Again, knowing the limits, the swadhinata, swatantrata, whole, W-H-O-L-E, not H-O-L-E. You become complete. Each one of us is complete in himself or herself. We know Ramcharitmanas, Ramayana, Ramakatha, and the Mahabharata, these two epics. How have they affected us? Have they been a subject of the past? Are they myths? Are they history? How do we look at it? It continues. It has not been a subject of the past as we think of the word old tradition. It continues. And how? Think of the texts written in multiple forms on these characters. A poet said, the king should be afraid of the poets, because it was the poet who converted a character like Ram and presented Raman as villain. And immediately he was confronted. No. It was because of the power of Ram. He touched and he became gold. Whosoever touched upon him became significant. Ram तुम्हारा चरित स्वयं ही काव्य है. कोई कवि बन जाए सहज संभाव है. So, long tradition of it. The Mahabharata is replete with so many characters. It will be written in the ages to come. It is a kind of source which is never ending. But look at just one character, and with which I'll wind it up, I know. Sita, portrayed by Valmiki. Yes, you have done everything good, but for this I can't forgive you. Valmiki says, I am the 10th son of Prachetas. You have done everything good, but for this sending Sita to the forest, I'll not forgive. This can't be accepted. An uneducated Bhilni, I heard this in Chhattisgarh, asking Sita, एक साथ रहे सुख और दुख में पति और पत्नी वेद बतायो. She is uneducated and she is saying वेदों ने बताया. तू बन गए तो तू बन गए लो. अब छत्तीसगढ़ी नहीं भोजपुरी और अवधी हो जा रही है. When you came to the forest, why didn't he come? He might have been a good king, but not a good husband. I come from Ayodhya, and my grandmother, my mother, didn't have this Karwa Chauth. I'm talking about how the tradition seeps into and it doesn't become a monolithic past, dead past. AD और BC का प्रॉब्लम यही है. शक संबंध हमें याद नहीं है, तिथि याद नहीं रहेगी. अभी तो याद होगी लोगों को परसों परशुराम जयंती थी, उसके पहले कोई और जयंती रहेगी, इस नाते याद हो जाती. Otherwise it is the other calendar that we have started looking at. They are different. Look at the different festivals. पोंगल से लेकर के, बिहू से लेकर के और पंजाब से लेकर के पूरे नार्थ तक. What is it? How the sun moves from one place to the other, and the festival is celebrated. So, asking that very question, he might have been a good king, but not a good son. A millennium later, Kalidas writes, in his epic, you get the line, एक ही एक line में बात कर रहा हूँ, how across the ages, वाच्य सोया मत वचनात् सराजा, अरे जाके कह देना, राम से नहीं, राजा से कह देना. Being with the Sita, the traditional women of Ayodhya did not have this Karwa Chauth. बेटे के लिए व्रत रहेंगे, बेटी के लिए भी रहती हैं. कुछ जगहों पर आपको ऐसे सोहर भी मिलते हैं, अयोध्या में तो मिलते ही, अथर्ववेद में भी मिल जाते हैं, लेकिन ये भी लाइन मिल जाती है क्योंकि कहीं अलग पैदा हो. We should be conscious to even that kind of thing. When you move further, I was in पुष्कर तीर्थ. आप लोगों में से कोई गया है? राजस्थान. The only temple of Brahma. Oh, not worshipped because he created, and the creation is like a daughter and had an eye on him and must be destroyed, must be killed by Shiva. So just one temple. But you have one temple of, small temple of Sita there. You will have to work hard to find that. हो सकता है कल बहुत बड़ा कोई मंदिर बन जाए अयोध्या की तरह से, तो सबको याद आ जाए. What has she done? I am still looking for a novel or a long poem, epic poem, where Sita is the protagonist, the heroine, living alone and taking care of the two sons, training them as great warriors, great Kshatriyas. And in our Avadhi Lok Katha, Lok Geet I should say, not Katha. I'll call you sons when you bring back Ayodhya to me. When you bring back Ayodhya to me, when you win Ayodhya to me, only then I'll call you my son. Look at this protest. Written form, Sthapatya temple. Across the ages, you have Prithivas Ramayana, Bangla version, you have Kannada version, you have the southern version, and in all of them, what is happening? Something is common there. The thread is common. Sita remains the same but different forms. When you think of a lonely mother today, single mother taking care of the child, I am yet to see a strong Indian feminist talking about Sita. I have a Mr. Chhatrapati and I asked this question to him. Your Sita is strong, but what about this form? He said, I will have to write another novel for that. Thank you for this patient hearing, and sorry for taking much of your time. Transgressing the time is like the cooperative principle in linguistics. We know it should not be broken, but it is broken. I'm sorry for that, but thank you for this patient hearing, and sorry to you to hear.
Thank you very much, sir. We now invite our guiding force, respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Sudhir Kumaravasti, sir, for the presidential address.
Sitting on the dais, Professor P.K. Avasthi, Professor Krishna Mohan Pandey, Professor Amitwa Chakravarti, Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, Dr. Sarvesh Mani Tripathi, who happens to be the director of School of Languages, and Dr. Ankit Trivedi, my dear students and faculty members from different disciplines who are joining us today. I'm really delighted to be here. Though by profession I'm a life scientist, I belong to a discipline which is devoted to science, especially the life science. And since I deal with the life, I'm here because you people are also related to life, and I believe whatever you have written, it is only for the life of the human. As far as Indian knowledge system goes, before last year, 2 years have passed, we have included certain chapters in the first unit of every syllabus. From PG level, UG level, the first unit of the syllabus consists of some portions from the Indian knowledge system, basically the historical perspective, even of the arts, humanities, the science departments have adopted this. So literally meaning that only the paper work is being completed rather than incomplete work. I agree. But who will take this decision to bring the Indian ethos in the minds of the Indians? Unfortunately, we are being driven by the force which are not Indian, which are Western in Dharma. Foreign tourists who visited India, they started writing on the scriptures of foreigners. So it is really unfortunate. Why it is so? It may be because many Mimamsas, many versions, many translated versions were written but were destroyed, badly destroyed by foreign invaders. And Dr. Sharma belongs to Nalanda, is coming from Nalanda. You may be knowing what kind of treatment was given to the Indian text when foreign invaders invaded India, and there was a brutal murder of the Indian text by the invaders. But we are not talking about the Ganga, Jamuni, Tajib, and therefore the secular approach is destroyed the whole. Dr. Pandey was speaking and I was listening to his lecture, and I was, please do not talk. I will take a few minutes only. If your time is costly, my time is also costly. I was imagining as if I am standing on the Godolia Chowk. One way is going to the Vishwanath temple. The other way is going to the Bengali market, and the third way is going to the colony of the dancers, and the fourth way is going towards the Dasasana. The Dharma, Artha, Moksha, the Kam also. So we, as if I was standing on the Godolia Choraha, Godolia Chowk, So this is life of ours. This is life of India. We explore life in day-to-day life. The way to moksha is also important, but the three more important things are there: the dharma, the artha, kama. And dharma, the literal meaning of dharma should not be taken as equal to religion. Not at all. Kshama damostayam shaucham indri nigraha dhir vidya satyamat provo dashakam dharma lakshya. One speaker was telling about the karuna nyaya marg, karuna marg. These are the components of the dharma which have been taught to us, which have been injected to our vessels, blood vessels. So it is running in our vessels. And that is why we are living Indian knowledge system, not reading in the text. It is not for the first time when the unit 1 was devoted to Indian knowledge system, then we started Indian knowledge. No, not at all. It was given by our grandmothers. It was given by our old people in home. When the sanskara Siksha was given by grandmother to his granddaughter or grandson, it was beautiful depiction of how the generation is passing this knowledge from this juncture to that juncture. But unfortunately, that old age people, our affectionate people, are living in old age home. And the basic sanskar which was passing through the ages is now stopped. Now the Bahu says, new Bahu says that don't go, please, to his son or daughter, don't go to the grandfather, don't go to the grandmother, because he is having cough, he is suffering from cold, please stay away from him or her. So this is the breakage point of the culture. That is how we feel broken. And this is the effect of the Western culture. We are studying Indian principles from the eyes of the Max Muller. Day before a study, we observed a Jayanti, Parashuram Jayanti. And from Parashuram to Rama, this was the main topic. And the person was telling that the kind of courage which was shown by Parashuram was dissolved when we approached the Ram. And it was not required. It was a time zone which was important. So we have to keep in mind that Indian culture has to be studied, not in textbooks. Yes, the professors will tell you in the class, but this is the thing which you have to cultivate in your mind. That is how you can nurture yourself. And this is the requirement of life. This is the requirement of the Gen Z. Gen Z has to believe that our ancestors were not stupid. They were highly intelligent. And there is a scientific basis of everything they did. And they did for your life. The environmental protection rules, which we are seeing today, these are the wonderful laws of the conservation of energy. I remember the Shakuntala was brought up in the Rishi Karna ashram, Kanva ashram. He's also said Kashyap. Shakuntala was born, the biological father were Vishwamitra and Menka. But unfortunately, the Shakuntala, the literal meaning of the Shakuntala is one who is knowing the language of the birds. And yes, it is true. One speaker was telling about the language and the communication, the difference between the language and the communication. It is said about the Kanva Rishi that he was knowing all the languages, including the language of the animals, flowers, even the stones, non-living things. And he wrote 4 stanzas devoted to the farewell of Shakuntala. And these 4 stanzas are supposed to be the best, not in Sanskrit literature only. It is the beauty of Abhigyan Sakuntalam written by Kalidasa. Most beautiful farewell words which have been spoken, but not by his biological father. Biological father was another person, Vishwamitra and Manika, but the kind we received was so fascinating. When he was writing, and it is said the best farewell songs which have been written, ever written in the literature. So this is the ethos of Indian knowledge system. I believe from a different angle I am seeing this word which is standing before me. It is only the scientific temperament which has to be kept in every walk of life, and when you are studying literature, it has to be kept in mind. At this occasion, I'm really pleased to be here. I'm really privileged to be here among the persons who belong to the literature, who have their words which is equivalent to the Brahma. The words are never lost. So whenever you speak, whenever you write good words, best from the vocabulary, which is not written by Oxford, but written by you and me people. So thank you very much for calling me here in this occasion. I really want to thank the organizers who have organized a lot of effort in organizing this thing. I will continue to be a part of this type of conferences because it refreshes my knowledge also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We are pleased to present the proceedings of the National Conference, which brings together scholars, researchers, and practitioners of diverse disciplines to engage in meaningful academic dialogue. I would request all the dignitaries on the dais to unveil the conference booklet. It is hoped that this conference booklet will serve as a valuable resource for future research and academic inquiry.
It is a distinct privilege
But he ended an environmentalist here, and he gave you that very message that was given 2000 years ago, at least 2000 years before. We should not enter into the time frame, Western one, cyclical. राम आए हैं, कृष्ण आ जाएंगे, उनके बाद कोई दूसरा आ जाएगा. Yes, the form doesn't matter. So रम्यांतर कमलिनी हरितै सरोभि छाया द्रुमैर नियमितार्क मरीचिताप भूयात् कुशेषय रजो मृदुरेणु रस्या शांतानुकूल पवनश्च शिवश्च पंथा. अभी एसी से आपको ठंडक कितनी चाहिए तय करते हैं, लेकिन एक पेड़ रहेगा तो कितना पानी चाहिए आपको, कितनी हवा चाहिए, कितनी धूप चाहिए. ये उस पिता का आशीर्वाद है जो बायोलॉजिकल फादर नहीं है. उन्होंने समय की सीमा का अनुसरण किया, लेकिन मैंने कहा नए बच्चों को ये चीज ध्यान रखनी चाहिए कि भाई धूप भी जरूरी है, छां भी जरूरी है। आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारे बच्चे इसलिए बर्बाद हो जाते हैं कि उनको बहुत ज्यादा छां मिली है, ऐसा छत्र मिला है कि वो पनपते ही नहीं है। तो वो बरगद के पेड़ से बाहर भी आना जरूरी है। थैंक यू।
मुझे थोड़ा सा मुझे कहना है कि इस बहुत ही प्रसिद्ध तार्किक लोग इस मंच पर मौजूद हैं और मुझे इसको छोड़ के जाने में थोड़ा लोभ संवरण हो रहा है, लेकिन मैं अपने प्रशासनिक दायित्वों से भी मुख नहीं मोड़ सकता और इसलिए मैं इस सभा को यहीं पर छोड़ कर के जा रहा हूं। और मैं डॉक्टर त्रिवेदी और सर्वेश मणि से कहूँगा कि इसको वीडियो मुझे ज़रूर उपलब्ध करा दें जब डॉक्टर अवस्थी और डॉक्टर चैटर्जी आई बिलीव चक्रवर्ती जब भाषण दे लें तो इसका वीडियो मुझे उपलब्ध कराएं। मुझे यहीं पर छोड़कर जाना होगा और मैं जाते जाते यह भी कहता जाऊं कि जिन्होंने आपको पाला पोसा है उनकी भी आपके जीवन में बहुत बड़ा स्थान है। आपको शायद पता हो कि बहुत सारे आचार्यों ने अपने शिष्यों को अपना कुल और गोत्र प्रदान कर दिया, ऐसा किया उन्होंने और यह कार्य हमारे भारतवर्ष में ही हो सकता है, कोई दूसरा इसको नहीं कर सकता। इसलिए गर्व करिए कि आप भारतीय हैं, जमीन पर रहते हैं पर घर जो है हम लोगों का ये आसमान में है और हम सबको उस घर तक पहुंचना है। आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for your presence today. It is a distinct privilege to now invite Professor A.K. Awasthi sir, a luminary in the field of aesthetic and literature and former head of Department of English and the other European languages, DHSG Central University, Shahu. With an illustrious career spanning decades, he is widely recognized for his deep scholarly contributions to the philosophy of aesthetics and social sciences. His work has constantly explored the profound connections between human existence and the arts, making him one of the most respected voices in the contemporary academic discourse. His presence today is especially significant for our theme of reimagining existence. We invite you to address the gathering, sir.
मैं एक चीज कहना चाहता हूँ कि सर वाज माय फर्स्ट हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट व्हेन आई ज्वाइंड academics in 2007 as a guest faculty in Sagar University. He was heading the department at that time, and he had always been very kind to me. सर का बहुत आशीर्वाद मिलता रहा, 6 साल तक मेरे हेड रहे हैं, तो मेरे लिए ये व्यक्तिगत तौर पर बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। थैंक यू सर फॉर कमिंग।
I go before the creator of this universe, Lord Shiva, and my obeisances to all the honorables sitting here on the dais and in this hall. All honorables. You are not just young students, boys and girls, but you are all equal, honorable souls. So I bow to you. First of all, as it is a conference organized by the Department of English, and on a theme that is related to Indian knowledge system or tradition. But I have been wondering about this. Why should we talk about the Indian knowledge system in English? Can we understand the spirit and soul of Indian knowledge system or tradition through a language which is not part of our culture, part of our soul, part of our tradition, and part of our understanding. Why should we talk in a language that is not our own? And in this foreign language, we are talking of our own culture. What's the dilemma? It's just the opposite of the thing that we want to reveal, that we want to explore, we want to discover in a way which is not our own. That's something wonderful. But because it has been organized by the Department of English. But I wonder, when we talk of religion, do we understand dharma? When we hear the word dharma, we have a different connotation in our mind, a different feeling in our mind. When we talk of Atman, we have got a different understanding. When we talk of soul, we understand the meaning, but do we realize the feel that comes through us through the word Atman? No, it doesn't. There is a lot of difference between Atman and soul, lot of difference between the religion and dharma. Therefore, if I have to talk of India, if I have to talk about Bharatiya Darshan, Bharatiya Atma, Bharatiya Paddhati, then we have to talk in Bharatiya Bhasha. So that we can feel that language, we can feel that culture, we can feel that Sanskriti and Sanskar. Therefore, I am sorry, I would not speak in English as I start talking about India. Therefore, I switch over to Hindi. ये हमारे समझ में आएगा, हमारे मन की बात होगी, हमारी आत्मा में गुजरेगी और हम उससे ओतप्रोत हो जाएंगे। हम उस भाषा में, हम उस भावना को नहीं समझ सकते जो माँ थपकी दे करके अपने बच्चे को सुलाती है, एक लोरी गाती है, दुखी भी होती है, प्रसन्न भी होती है, दुलारती भी है, खुशी के आंसू भी रोती है, दुख के आंसू भी बहाती है। लेकिन क्या हम इस चीज को अंग्रेजी में अगर कहेंगे तो क्या हम उसको फील कर पाएंगे? मुख्य बात है फील करना, महसूस करना। अगर हम उसको महसूस न करें तो हमारा फायदा क्या, हम उस चीज को कह दें और पूरे भाषण में हो जाए। हमारे पूर्ववर्ती विद्वान वक्ताओं ने बहुत सी बातें की, बड़ी ज्ञान की बातें की, बहुत ही ज्यादा नई नई सूचनाएं आपको दी। उन्होंने मूल्यों के बारे में कहा, हमारी पद्धति के बारे में कहा, हमारी उस परंपरा के बारे में कहा। हम लगातार ये सोचते रहे कि सचमुच में जो कुछ भी कहा गया है या जो परंपरा है वह निकली कहाँ से आई, क्यों आई। हम सब यहाँ इतने सारे लोग बैठे हैं, हम महसूस कर रहे हैं, कुछ न कुछ दिमाग में सोच रहे हैं, लगातार सोच रहे हैं। किसी के मन में पॉजिटिव रिएक्शन, किसी के मन में नेगेटिव रिएक्शन, किसी के मन में आलोचना, किसी के मन में प्रशंसा, ये सब कुछ विचार चल रहे हैं। हम इतने सारे लोग हैं लेकिन अलग अलग सोच रहे हैं। हमारी इतनी बड़ी परंपरा है लेकिन सब लोगों ने अलग अलग तरीके से, विभिन्न तरीकों से, विभिन्न कार्यक्रमों से, विभिन्न उपक्रमों से उन्होंने अपने आप को सजाया और दुनिया को दे दिया कि हमारे पास ये है, आप ले लीजिए। हम बहुत दिनों से एक विषय पर काम कर रहे थे, पंचक्रिया थ्योरी ऑफ एस्थेटिक्स। अब तो वह खैर पुस्तक बनकर आ गई है। वहां पर पढ़ते लिखते एक नया विचार जन्मा और वह विचार है आइडिया, विचार। विचार के रूप में क्या है? तो जब हम शैव दर्शन को हमने पढ़ा तो वहां पर एक बात खुल करके सामने आई कि शिव का जन्म कैसे हुआ, शिव है कौन। शिव का माने वो शंकर भगवान नहीं जो आपके देवालय में या मंदिरों में या घर में बैठे हैं और उनकी पूजा करते हैं। वो शंकर भगवान नहीं। हम उनको शंकर भगवान के तौर से पूजते हैं, ठीक है पूजिए, शिव है, पार्वती है, उमा है, ठीक है, आप उनको से पूछिए, नो प्रॉब्लम। लेकिन ये जो शिव है, ये जो शिव है, ये शिव एक सिद्धांत है, ए प्रिंसिपल ऑफ यूनिवर्स। और जब हम उसके गहराई में गए तो वहां पर पता लगा कि शिव का अर्थ स्वयं में एक विचार है। हम उस भगवान की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम उस सिद्धांत की बात कर रहे हैं। तो विचार जो है वो कैसे पैदा हुआ? शैव दर्शन कहता है कि पहले कुछ भी नहीं था, कुछ भी नहीं था। एक इस ब्रह्मांड में एक विचार उत्पन्न हुआ और नासदीय सूत्र जो ऋग्वेद के 10वें मंडल में आता है उसमें उस चीज का जिक्र है। उसके बाद ही शिव की अवधारणा पैदा हुई और तब ये कहा गया, हम सबसे पहले नासदीय सूक्त को कहते हैं और वहां से हम अपनी बात शुरू करते हैं। नासदीय सूक्त जो कहा गया उसको सुन करके आपने बहुतों ने हो सकता न सुना हो, हिंदी में मैंने उसको ट्रांसलेट कहीं से पाया और वह मैं आपको सुनाता हूँ। सृष्टि के प्रारंभ में ना तो सत था, असत भी नहीं था, ना ही आकाश था, ना ही वायु, ना ही अंतरिक्ष, ना उससे कुछ परे। किसका स्पंद, कहाँ, कैसे और किसका संरक्षण? केवल गंभीर अंधकार में लिपटा हुआ शून्य। ना ही मृत्यु, ना ही अमरता, ना ही दिन और रात, एक अनादि पदार्थ, वायु रहित, स्वरूप रहित आवेग, जल की भांति आच्छादित, शून्य में व्याप्त, स्वयं की ऊर्जा से भासित। वह कौन था, कौन जानता था, कैसे जन्मा? सृष्टि की रचना का प्रथम बीज, काम का रूप, विचार का जन्म। मन सो रेता प्रथमा यदासीत, जिसने अस्तित्व और अनस्तित्व के अंतर को समाप्त कर दिया। देवता भी जन्मे सृष्टि के प्रारंभ में, कब और कैसे कोई नहीं जानता। वह रचयिता जानता था या फिर वह भी मुक्त था। शायद वह स्वयंभू था अथवा नहीं भी। वह परब्रह्म, सर्वव्यापक, सर्वज्ञाता, केवल वही जानता है। यदि नहीं तो कोई भी नहीं। जो बिग बैंग की थ्योरी है वह भी यही कहती है और कितने हजारों साल के बाद वो बिग बैंग की थ्योरी आई है और उसने भी यही कहा और वो भी कुछ नहीं। इससे जो कुछ गहराई इस सूक्त में है, क्या उस बिग बैंग की थ्योरी में आपको गहराई मिलेगी? इसमें कितने कितने सवाल दिए हैं, कितनी विशद और कितनी गहन परंपरा है और वह भी हजारों साल पहले। और कोई परंपरा 9-10 साल में या 20 साल में या 50 साल में जन्म नहीं लेती है। कोई परंपरा बनती है तो उसके पीछे हजारों साल की पृष्ठभूमि होती है, तब कहीं जाकर नासदीय सूक्त जन्म लेता है, तब कहीं क्रिएशन का ये हिम बनाया जाता है और हमको बताया जाता है हजारों साल पहले। कितनी पुरानी परंपरा जिसकी हमें डेट नहीं मालूम। तो ये विचार, ये गहनतम विचार, ये महानतम विचार, और वही उसी विचार से उत्पन्न है उस शिव की कल्पना, उस सिद्धांत की कल्पना। वो कल्पना जो अपने आप में बताता है कि उसके मन में एक ओंकार उठी, एक स्पंद उठा। वो कोई आवाज नहीं थी, स्पंद उठा, एक कंपन हुआ और वह कंपन ही विश्व का प्रथम विचार था, प्रथम विचार था। उस विचार से ब्रह्मांड उत्पन्न होता है, उस विचार से ब्रह्मांड की पूरी प्रक्रिया जन्म लेती है और सब कुछ बन जाता है। और इसलिए अगर कुछ सबसे पहले था, जैसे ये नासदीय सूक्त कहता है, पहले था तो अपने आप में वो विचार बिंदु था और जिस विचार बिंदु के रूप में शिव अपनी इच्छा मात्र से मैं, इस मैं का जन्म होता है और इस कारण संसार में व्याप्ति हो जाती है। इसलिए हर जगह, हर प्राणी में, हर व्यक्ति में, हर पेड़ में, जीव जंतु में कौन मुख्य है? मैं, सब कुछ मैं है, कहीं पर ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। पेड़ के पास भी अपना मैं है, वो अदृश्य, हम सुन नहीं सकते, हम उसके प्रति जान नहीं सकते, लेकिन हर व्यक्ति के मन में मैं तो है। हर व्यक्ति, हर जीव जंतु के उसके अंदर मैं तो है। ये मैं ही प्रथम विचार है। इसलिए जो आदि है, अनादि है, और जिसके कारण से हम अपनी परंपरा को इतना बढ़िया जानते हैं या उसके बारे में कहते हैं, तो सबसे बड़ी बात क्या है? भारतवर्ष इम्पॉर्टेंट क्यों है? मैक्स मूलर ने क्यों कहा, अन्य लोगों ने क्यों कहा, विलियम जोन्स ने क्यों कहा, अन्य सभी लोगों ने क्यों कहा, हम क्या क्या करें, क्यों ना करें, क्यों इम्पॉर्टेंट है? क्योंकि भारतवर्ष एक भौगोलिक इकाई नहीं है, कोई राष्ट्र नहीं है, केवल कोई राष्ट्र नहीं है, केवल दर्शन नहीं है, केवल इतिहास नहीं है, ये सब कुछ ही है। लेकिन सर्वप्रथम भारतवर्ष एक विचार है। India is an idea in itself, and that idea is reflected in thousands of ways, thousands of ways. हजारों परंपराओं के रूप में वो इंडिया व्याप्त है, हजारों धर्मों के रूप में वो। और धर्म कौन सा? ये नहीं कि हिंदू है, मुस्लिम है, पारसी है, नो, ये धर्म नहीं। आप धर्म की बात करें तो शरीर धर्म है, मानव धर्म है, समाज धर्म है, पितृ धर्म है, पुत्र धर्म है, इत्यादि इत्यादि, जाने कितने धर्म हैं, हजारों धर्म है। हजारों धर्म का अर्थ है हजारों प्रकार के कर्तव्य, हजारों प्रकार की हमारी आवश्यकताएं, वो सारे के सारे धर्म। जैसे गौतम बुद्ध की कहानी आती है, जहाँ पर गौतम बुद्ध कहीं पर तपस्या कर रहे थे, तो उनको जो बताया गया परंपरा के अनुसार कि भाई तुम इस तरह उपवास करोगे, उस तरह व्रत करोगे, और उसके बाद तुमको सिद्धि प्राप्त होगी। तो उन्होंने, एक समय आया जब उन्होंने पत्ते खा करके, पानी पी करके या हवाई पी करके अपने आपको जीवित रखा और तपस्या करते रहे। एक दिन वो बेहोश होकर के नदी के किनारे गिर गए, तो उनको किन्हीं दूसरे मुनियों ने उठाया और कहा कि भाई आप ये क्यों कर रहे हैं और किसके लिए कर रहे हैं? बोले मैं ज्ञान प्राप्त करना चाहता हूँ, इसलिए मैं ये व्रत कर रहा हूँ। बोले अच्छा, तो तुम सारे धर्मों का पालन कर रहे हो? बोले हाँ, मैं सब कुछ कर रहा हूँ। बोले तुम शरीर धर्म का तो पालन नहीं कर रहे हो। जिस घोड़े पर सवार होकर के तुम्हारी आत्मा कुछ सिद्धि प्राप्त करेगी, वो घोड़ा ही तुम्हारा कमजोर हो गया है, यानी तुम्हारा शरीर कमजोर हो गया है। तो पहले शरीर धर्म का पालन करो, उसके बाद में दूसरे धर्मों की बात देखना। तो हमारे यहाँ क्या क्या परंपराएं हैं, कितने प्रकार के धर्म हैं। आप दुनियावी लौकिक धर्मों, सामाजिक धर्मों के बीच में न जाइए। हम उस धर्म की बात कर रहे हैं जो हमारे हर पग पग पर है। हम अपने आप से बात करते हैं तो क्या हम अपना स्वधर्म पालन करते हैं? हम अपने मस्तिष्क का धर्म का पालन करते हैं? हम किसके बारे में, हम अच्छा सोचना, बुरा सोचना, मनसा वाचा कर्मणा, हम ये तीनों धर्मों का क्या पालन करते हैं? नहीं करते, भूले रहते हैं। एनीवे, भारत एक विचार है, ये मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। और ये विचार क्यों है, कहाँ पर है, कैसे कैसे हमारे बीच में आता है, और हमें क्या क्या याद रखना चाहिए। जो कुछ प्रोफेसर श्रवण ने कहा, प्रोफेसर पांडे ने कहा, वो तो महत्वपूर्ण है ही। उन्होंने उन चीज़ों पर जो हमारा ध्यान दिलाया है वह तो अनुकरणीय है ही। मैं केवल एक छोटी सी बात बताना चाहता हूँ कि हम क्या करें और किस किस चीज को याद करें। मैं कोई विद्वान व्यक्ति बिल्कुल नहीं हूँ, इसलिए थोड़ी थोड़ी चीजें लिख लेता हूँ। मैं कोई अब भूल भी जाता हूँ, इसलिए लिख लेता हूँ। तो भारत एक विचार है, ठीक इसी प्रकार से जैसे ब्रह्मांड शिव का विचार है। ब्रह्मांड शिव का स्पंदन है, उनकी इच्छा ही व्याप्ति के रूप में समस्त संसार के रूप में हमारे सामने है। तो क्या चीज है, हमें क्या याद रखना चाहिए? हमारी संस्कृति, हमारे मूल्य, हमारी ज्ञान परंपरा, हमारा भूगोल, हमारी राजनीति, साहित्य, हमारे संस्कार, आदतें, व्यवहार, सामाजिक, आर्थिक, राजनीतिक, दार्शनिक रीतियाँ, सोचने का ढंग, हमारे विश्वास, हमारे धर्म, हमारी आस्था, हमारी नीति, और ये सारे के सारे जो कुछ हमारे बीच में है, ये सब के सब अगर इनको आप कोई एंटिटी मान लें, इनको कोई पदार्थ मान लें, तो मालूम पड़ा ये सारे के सारे एक प्रवाह के रूप में बह रहे हैं। हमारे मानस के बीच में बह रहे हैं, हमारे समाज के बीच में बह रहे हैं। ये सब कुछ एक धारा के रूप में बह रहे हैं हमारे आसपास, और ये सारे की सारी चीजें एक अभीष्ट मंजिल की ओर जा रही हैं। सब चीजें हमको एक तरफ ले जा रही हैं। किस तरफ ले जा रही हैं? अभीष्ट मंजिल क्या है? मानवता का निर्माण करना, एक मानव कुटुंब का निर्माण करना, ऐसे कुटुंब का निर्माण करना जो यहाँ पर सभी सुखी हो, सभी सुखी हो। सर्वे भवन्ति सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया। हमारा उद्देश्य रहा है, और इस उद्देश्य के इर्द गिर्द ही हमारी सारी परंपराएं, हमारे सारे विश्वास, धर्म और नीतियां बनी रही हैं। हमें उनको याद करना चाहिए। अपने बीच में से जो परंपराएं चल रही हैं, बातें चल रही हैं, जो हमारे दादी नानी बताती हैं या दादा बताते हैं, उनको भी हमें देखना चाहिए कि हाँ ये क्यों बता रहे हैं और क्या मतलब है इसका। उसका मतलब हमें समझना चाहिए। जो नहीं समझ में आता है हमें बड़ों से पूछना चाहिए या कहीं से खोजना चाहिए कि हमारे पास जो कुछ भी है उसका मतलब क्या है। अगर हम मतलब जान जाएंगे तो हम कॉन्शियस हो जाएंगे, हम चैतन्य हो जाएंगे, हम अपनी परंपरा जान जाएंगे और हम गर्व करने लगेंगे। अगर गलत पता है तो हमें सही पता कर लेना चाहिए। यही तो हमारे इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम का अंग रहा है पहले से आगे भी। हमारे जो पुरानी परंपराएं हैं वो अस्तित्व के समय से, भारत अस्तित्व में कब आया हमें नहीं पता। हमारे पास इतनी पुरानी हिस्ट्री नहीं है। लोग पश्चिमी लोग अंदाज लगाते हैं कि होगी 3000 साल होगी, पुरानी होगी। अरे चलो 5000 मान लेते हैं, गीता के हिसाब से 5000 मान लेते हैं। नहीं, उससे थोड़ा 2000 और मान लेते, 7000 मान लेते हैं। लेकिन अगर आप इतिहास के अंदर घुसते जाएं, बहुत घुसते चले जाएं, तो जो ईरान या रोम का इतिहास रहा है उससे भी पुरानी परंपरा चली जाती है। और जो मेगास्थनीज यहाँ पर जब आया था और उसके बाद जो उसने जो लिखा है और उसके बाद जो कुछ पाया गया, क्योंकि बाकी तो जहाज में नष्ट हो गया था, तो उसके अनुसार हमारी परंपरा लगभग 20,000 वर्ष तक चली जाती है आज के रिकॉर्ड के हिसाब से। एनीवे, लेकिन ये जो वेद है, उपनिषद है, शास्त्र है, पुराण है, दर्शन है, वास्तविक जीवन में उतरते चले गए धीरे धीरे। सब कुछ हमारे वास्तविक जीवन में उतरते चले गए। कैसे उतरते चले गए? हमारी परंपरा के हिसाब से, हमारी आदतों के हिसाब से, हमारे व्यवहार के हिसाब से। जैसे उदाहरण के लिए बौद्ध धर्म जब आया तो 2-3 विचार अपने आप में हमारे दिमागों में आ गए, हमारे पूरे समाज में फैल गए कि जीवन क्षणभंगुर है, समय हर क्षण बदलता रहता है, जीवन नाशवान है, हर क्षण बदलता रहता है, और बिल्कुल एक क्षण अपना पुराना हम नहीं देख सकते। जैसे एक उदाहरण दिया जाता है उस दर्शन में, गौतम बुद्ध के उसमें, कि क्या आप ये जो पानी देख रहे हैं, क्या आप एक बूंद पानी की जो यहाँ पर है, क्या ये वही पानी है जिसको आप अगली बार देखेंगे, अगले क्षण देखेंगे? नहीं, लगातार बह रहा है। जो बूंद यहाँ पर है वह बूंद निश्चित रूप से अगले क्षण कहीं और हो जाएगी। हम जिस पानी में आज पैर डाला है, वो इस क्षण डाला है, वो वही क्षण तुरंत ही बदल जाएगा। जैसे समय के हिसाब से अगर आप देखें, आप समझें, तो क्या आप कभी वर्तमान में जी रहे हैं? कभी वर्तमान में रह सकते हैं? कल्पना करिए, वर्तमान में रहना क्या संभव है? नहीं संभव है। एक क्षण के लिए भी वर्तमान में रहना संभव नहीं है। आप केवल या तो भूत में रहते हैं या भविष्य में। वर्तमान जैसे ही होता है वैसे ही पलट जाता है और वो भूत बन जाता है। बताइए, क्या वर्तमान में आप रह सकते हैं? कभी नहीं रह सकते, कोई नहीं रह सकता। हमें किसने समझाया? गौतम बुद्ध ने समझा दिया, और वो परंपरा हमारी परंपरा का हिस्सा बन गया। इसी तरह जैन धर्म आया, उन्होंने एक दूसरी बात बताई, अहिंसा परमो धर्म। तो जीव दया करने का, सोचने का, व्यवहार करने का हमारे जनमानस का अंग बन गया। अगर श्वेतांबर जैन रास्ते में चल रहा है तो चोर डुलाते हुए चलता है, कहीं चींटी ना आ जाए पैर के नीचे। हम जीव दया, तो केवल जैनों ने ही नहीं उसको स्वीकार किया, अन्य पूरे समाज ने स्वीकार किया। वह सारा सनातनी समाज, सारा हिंदू समाज जो उस चीज को जानता था, सबने स्वीकार कर लिया। ये भारत की परंपरा है। तो जब ये हमारे विचार का अंग बन गया तो निश्चित रूप से यही सब चीजें हमारे व्यवहार में जो आती चली गई, वो हमारे अपने आप को दुरुस्त करती चली, हमारे चरित्र को बनाती चली। और दूसरी तरफ हम जैसे एक शब्द कहते हैं यूनिवर्स, अंग्रेजी में यूनिवर्स, इसका संधि विच्छेद करे जरा। यूनि माने एक, वर्ष माने काव्य, यानी ब्रह्मांड क्या है? एक काव्य है। किसका काव्य है? शिव का काव्य है, उनकी इच्छा का काव्य है, उनका स्पंद मात्र है, उनका विचार मात्र है, व्याप्ति है। और इसी प्रकार से ये बिल्डिंग बनी हुई है। ये आपको बिल्डिंग दिखाई पड़ रही है, ये बिल्डिंग नहीं है, ये आर्किटेक्ट के दिमाग में पैदा हुआ एक डिजाइन है जो आप यहाँ मटेरियल फॉर्म में देख रहे हैं। आप क्या हैं? हम क्या हैं? हम हाड़ मांस के पुतले नहीं हैं, हम माता पिता की संतान नहीं हैं। हम क्या हैं? हम उस सूक्ष्म जगत से बने हुए विचारों के एक अपने आप में गुंठन है, विचारों के गुंठन है। हम अपने माता पिता के विचारों के गुंठन हैं जो मटेरियल फॉर्म में यहाँ पर है। ये बिल्डिंग 1968 में 1968 में मैं एमए पास कर रहा था। उस समय बाइफर्केशन हुआ आगरा यूनिवर्सिटी का और 2 यूनिवर्सिटी बनाई गई, एक मेरठ की, एक कानपुर। तब यहाँ पर आया था और मैंने देखा था पूरे खेत ही खेत पड़े थे, सारे खेत, कहीं कुछ भी नहीं था, एक ईंट भी नहीं थी। आज यहाँ पर कानपुर यूनिवर्सिटी बनी हुई। ये कैसे बन गई? किसके विचार में था? वो विचार जन्मा और उस विचार उस जन्मे हुए विचार को ट्रांसलेट किया गया, मटेरियल फॉर्म में चेंज किया गया, आज यूनिवर्सिटी बनी हुई है। यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं है ये विचार है। An idea translated into reality, into materiality. इसी प्रकार से एक उदाहरण और देते हैं। सागर यूनिवर्सिटी जो बनी, एक व्यक्ति के द्वारा देखे गए सपने और अपनी सारी संपत्ति, व्यक्तिगत संपत्ति को उस व्यक्ति ने दान किया, ट्रस्ट बनाया और सागर यूनिवर्सिटी का निर्माण किया। वह उस व्यक्ति की कविता है, वो उस व्यक्ति का विचार है जो यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में खड़ा है। अपनी व्यक्तिगत संपत्ति, उस जमाने में उस व्यक्ति के पास 80 लाख रुपया था, उस 1946 में। तब उसने अपनी उस संपत्ति से उस यूनिवर्सिटी को बनाया, एक अकेले व्यक्ति की संपत्ति। वो उसकी कल्पना थी, क्योंकि वहां पर हाई स्कूल के आगे कोई पढ़ाई नहीं थी सागर में। तो उन्होंने कहा नहीं, हम इस जगह को हम एजुकेशन का हब बनाएंगे। तो उन्होंने बनाया। ठीक इसी प्रकार से भारतवर्ष एक विचार है, एक बहुत बड़ा विचार है। उस विचार में जिसमें सब कुछ समाहित है, और उस समाहित होने वाली बात में जब हम देखते हैं तो उसमें क्या क्या और चीजें शामिल है, हम जरा उनमें से कुछ नाम लेना चाहते हैं। जैसे जो आवरण है हमारा, वह आवरण तो धर्म का है, दर्शन का है। धर्म दर्शन के आवरण में छिपा हुआ है उसकी प्रैक्टिस, श्रुति, सुनने की बातें हैं, याद करने की बातें हैं, और उसके अंतर्गत एक अंडर करेंट है जिसको हम कहेंगे यूनिवर्सल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट। यूनिवर्सल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट है, वो हमारे विचारों के साथ लगातार चलता है, प्रवाह के रूप में चलता है। जैसे देश काल परिस्थितियों पर लागू होता है, हर जगह लागू होता है। देखिए मजेदार बात यह है, जो यहाँ की बात है, जो यहाँ की सोच है, वो किसी एक व्यक्ति या किसी एक समाज या किसी एक संप्रदाय के लिए लागू नहीं है, वो मानव मात्र के लिए लागू है। इसलिए वो कहते हैं जैसे एकता है, शांति का है, सुख है, प्रसन्नता है, आशा है, विनम्रता है, सादगी है, विश्वास है, सहयोग है, ऑनेस्टी है, साहस है, प्रसन्नता, प्रेम, आदर, मानवीय मूल्य, सामाजिक मूल्य, भावनात्मक मूल्य, करुणा, ये सारी बातें क्या है? सब कुछ अपने व्यवहार की बातें हैं। इनको किसी देश में नकारा नहीं गया है। इसीलिए देश काल परिस्थितियों से ऊपर हमने सोचा है, जैसे ईश्वर से प्रेम करना, दूसरे की सुनना, केवल अपनी अपनी ही न कहना, प्रकृति का ज्ञान होना, अन्वेषण करना, भौतिक है, व्यवहारिक है, ज्ञान की खोज करना, जीवन को सुविधाजनक बनाने का प्रयत्न करना, उपयोगी बनाने का प्रयत्न करना, व्यक्तिगत उत्कर्ष पाना, आत्मज्ञान पाना, अज्ञानता दूर करना, जीवन का लक्ष्य प्रज्ञा को प्राप्त करना, और ये सब चिरंतन प्रवाह के रूप में हमारे यहाँ चलता गया है। और यही हमारी ताकत, यही हमारा खजाना है, जिसके कारण से उस मैक्स मूलर को कहना पड़ा। मैक्स मूलर को इसलिए नियुक्त नहीं किया गया था कि हिंदुस्तान की बड़ाई करे, उसको तो इसलिए नियुक्त किया गया था, अंग्रेजों के द्वारा स्कॉलरशिप दी गई थी कि हिंदुस्तान में जो कुछ भी परंपरा है उसको तुम डिबंक करो, उसकी आलोचना करो, उसको ऐसा कुछ करो जैसे वो नष्ट हो जाए और लोग बाकी समझे ये सब कुछ गड़बड़ घोटाला है, यहाँ कुछ है नहीं। तो हमने उस किताब को पढ़ा है और उस किताब के अंदर कुछ 4-6 बातें हैं जो मैक्स मूलर ने खास तौर से कैम्ब्रिज में 1882 में 16 दिसंबर को किताब प्रकाशित हुई थी, और उस समय उसने लिखा था कि हम इन बातों के लिए हम हिंदुस्तान को याद करते हैं, और इसलिए अगर हमें कुछ सीखना है दुनिया के लिए तो हमें कहाँ से सीखना है और क्यों सीखना है। मैक्स मूलर ने कहा, अगर कोई पूछे कि कौन देश है जो धन दौलत शक्ति सौंदर्य लगभग स्वर्ग जैसा, तो मैं कहूँगा वो भारत। मैं ट्रांसलेट कर रहा हूँ उसके शब्द। अगर कोई पूछे कि किस जगह मनुष्य में मानसिक विकास की उच्च कोटि का स्तर पाया जाता है और तमाम जीवन की समस्याओं को हल सुगमता से निकाले जाते हैं, तो मैं कहूँगा वो भारत है। जिन्होंने प्लेटो और कांट इत्यादि को पढ़ लिया है और साहित्य की चर्चा करते हैं, तो ग्रीक और रोमन, यहूदी या अन्य के विचार जानते हैं, तो मैं कहूँगा उनमें जो कुछ पढ़ा है वो सब अधूरा है। जो कुछ ग्रीक, रोमन, लैटिन इत्यादि से पढ़ा है वो सब अधूरा है। और अगर आप पूरा पढ़ना चाहते हैं, जहाँ पर हमारी अंतर्दृष्टि जागती है, हमारे मन के अंदर के भाव जागते हैं, तो वो भारत है। वो कहते हैं कि अगर हमारी आत्मा सार्वभौम बनती है, अधिक विस्तृत होती है, और इस जीवन में अगर हम अंततोगत्वा वह पाते हैं जिसकी हमें सचमुच में जरूरत है, वो कहाँ मिलेगा? वह भारत है। इसी प्रकार के डेविड फ्रॉली व्यक्ति हुए हैं जिन्होंने अपना नाम वामदेव शास्त्री रख लिया था। उनको पद्म भूषण भी भारत सरकार ने दिया था। उन्होंने कहा, भारत माने भारतीय संस्कृति यानी धर्म की संस्कृति, अर्थात मानवीय जीवन के सभी पक्षों और संपूर्ण जीवन के प्रति निष्ठा ही धर्म है, जिसमें जैन, बुद्ध, सिख आदि सभी विचार शामिल है। दुख की बात यह है कि पूर्व की दिल्ली में बैठे वे वामपंथी साहित्यकार, वामपंथी इतिहासकार, वामपंथी सो कॉल्ड इंटेलेक्चुअल्स ने भारतवर्ष को 1947 में पैदा हुआ देश माना, न कि वह जिसकी हजारों साल पुरानी परंपरा है। वो कहते हैं भारत इंडिया, वो भारत को नहीं जानते। वो बुद्धिमान लोग भारत को नहीं कहते, वो भारत को पहचानते नहीं है। वो कहते हैं इंडिया जो है वो 1947 में पैदा हुआ, उसके पहले इंडिया का कोई इतिहास नहीं था, वो सब बकवास था। तो ये डेविड फ्रॉली भी जो वो अंग्रेज आदमी और वो बाद में भारतीय बन गया। तो हम बस 2 बातें कह करके अपनी बात समाप्त करते हैं चाहते हैं कि हमारी फिलॉसफी कोई बौद्धिक व्यायाम नहीं है, बौद्धिक व्यायाम नहीं है। ये कोई बुद्धि विलास भी नहीं है कि हम केवल अपने मन को संतुष्ट करने के लिए या आनंद लेने के लिए, तर्क करने के लिए हम फिलॉसफी की बात करते हैं। वरन हमारा दर्शन, हमारी फिलॉसफी जीवन को सरल बनाने का एक वैज्ञानिक प्रयास है। अगर हम उन चीजों को सीख लेते हैं, हम एक फोल्ड पाथ अगर बौद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार कर लेते हैं, उनको सीख लेते हैं, योग के अष्टांग योग के हम सूत्र को सीख लेते हैं, प्रैक्टिस कर लेते हैं, तो हमारे अंदर एक परिवर्तन होगा। वो वैज्ञानिक प्रयास है जो अपने आप में पूरी तरह से सफल रहा है, पहले से सफल रहा है। तो आजकल आप रामदेव, स्वामी रामदेव का नाम सुनते हैं, कैसे उन्होंने योग को इस प्रकार से पूरे भारत में और विश्व में प्रचारित करने का काम किया। वो उसी योग दर्शन से ही निकला है, अष्टांग योग से ही निकला है। जैसे हमारे जो साहित्यकार रहे, वो चाहे कुमार संभव की बात हो या रघुवंशम की बात हो, जहाँ पर हमारे आश्रम धर्म को और हमारे ये क्या कहते हैं आश्रम धर्म को और पुरुषार्थ चतुष्टय को उन्होंने हमें संपादित करके बताया है कि आश्रम धर्म क्या है, ब्रह्मचर्य है, गृहस्थ है, वानप्रस्थ है, संन्यास है, इसी प्रकार से धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष है। ये हमारे हमको उन पुस्तकों के जरिए से बता दिया, विचारित कर दिया कि ठीक है, इनका पालन करिए आप, और कैसे कैसे पालन करना है उसको उदाहरण दे दिए। हम सब इस पूरी परंपरा को आज तक लगातार प्रवाह के तौर से जीते आए हैं, और यही इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम है, यही ट्रेडिशन। अब इसके अंदर जब हम घुसेंगे, हम अगर रघुवंशम के या कुमार संभव को एक्सप्लोर करेंगे तो उसमें और चीजें निकलेंगी। हमें पता लग गया कि उसमें ये है, तो हम एक्सप्लोर करेंगे इस आश्रम धर्म का मतलब क्या है, उसका रिफ्लेक्शन क्या है, उसका मैनिफेस्टेशन क्या है, उसके अंदर जाने पर हमें और क्या मिल सकता है। अगर हम उस क्या मिल सकता को कोशिश करेंगे जानने की, तो हम अपने सिस्टम को पुनर्जीवित कर सकेंगे, और पुनर्जीवित करके हम स्वयं को गर्व कर सकेंगे अपने ऊपर कि हाँ, ये ठीक है, हमने जो किया था पहले हम भूल गए थे, अब हम दोबारा पा रहे हैं, और पा करके हम विश्व को भी बता रहे हैं कि देखो ऐसा करने से ये होता है। और वही सचमुच में इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम की सच्ची सेवा होगी, सच्चा एक्सप्लोरेशन होगा। धन्यवाद।
इस बात पर तो हम सभी की सहमति है कि हर व्यक्तित्व में पहला जो निर्माण होता है, पहला जो इंस्टेंस होता है, इट इज ऑलवेज ऑफ अ थॉट, एक विचार होता है। मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, we are extremely privileged to have Professor Amitabh Chhatrapati sir as our chief guest today. Associate Professor at the University of Delhi, he is a prolific scholar specializing in literary and cultural theory, Indian poetics, and intersections of postmodernism. His expertise bridges global perspective with the Indian literary tradition. As the General Secretary of International Society of Bengal Studies and a recipient of the ISHR Research Fellowship, he brings a wealth of knowledge that perfectly aligns with reimagining existence. We are truly privileged to have you with us today, sir. I most respectfully invite you to share your valuable thoughts and address the gathering.
Please don't leave in between the session. We are going to wind up within 20 minutes. Please, this is not a good practice.
Thank you. So, there is this advantage and disadvantage of speaking at the end. The advantage is you feel relieved that most of the things have been said. And further advantage is you can presume, you can hope that you know I knew all of this, but they have said it, so I am keeping it brief. No, I didn't know all of this. I could connect even before with the two earlier scholars, connect a bit. But with Professor Awasthi, where it was a philosophical discourse on self and beyond, after that what I would be talking about should look like, sound like, अरे कहाँ पहुँच गए थे और आप कहाँ खींच के नीचे ला रहे। So you see, I wanted to be a theoretician. My teacher was someone who was a professor of aesthetics and was into both Sanskrit and Western aesthetics. But of course, that was, I was a student when that was 95, 97. And we were like Foucault, Derrida, etc., knowing those were the things which were important. We knew those. Knowing Sanskrit poetics was important. I'm assuming most of us are students of literature, hence I'm going to poetics only. Knowing Sanskrit poetics was important, but as a mummified discourse. कुछ था हमारे पास, which were important. So it was praised for Sanskrit poetics, but we assume that in our current education, being conversant in postmodernism, post-structuralism, structuralism were the most important things. That was a paradigm. It was the paradigm. I just share my journey with it, including what I'm witnessing these days, and what could be our take on, what at least I take as my takeaway. There are exceptions. If we will look at the discipline of English itself, one important exceptional historical moment was when Professor C.T. Narasimhaiah organized the conference at Sahitya Academy on East-West Poetics at Work and published a book. Now you see, before that we could narrate that looking at Sanskrit poetics from the perspective or within the domain of modern knowledge production was primarily that of recording and also accepting the value. Like S.K. De, V.K. Chari, they first documented. And also there are publishers, there are editors who are bringing those manuscripts into book form. Documentation done. And of course, if you document Sanskrit poetics, you cannot negate the sheer brilliance of insight and also the ability to create characters, create types, categories, etc. But those are not taken as clues for relevance, being relevant in criticism. Because Sanskrit poetics was primarily concerned with theoretical questions. It was C.T. Narasimhaiah and a few others before that, I am not going to that. C.T. Narasimhaiah who first underlined one important thing, that though we have been studying, even in the modern education system, we have been for now more than 2,200 years studying English literature, we don't have any theory. At one point of time, we were looking at the British theoreticians, and then we have shifted to the American theoreticians. And 10 to 15 years back, you could have said, then we have shifted to the French theoreticians. And then why we don't have theories? And they were analyzing from Auchitya's perspective, from Riti's perspective, from Rasa. Now, this would mark an urge to establish legitimacy, relevance. The first phase was to establish the existence and also the brilliance. The second phase, we can call it the phase of providing a relevance, a legitimacy for contemporary studies. Krishna Rayan was another person, but that was an individual project where he brought in suggestion, a comparative study between suggestion and dhvani and tried to formulate something which could bring both together. The point is that you are dealing with people who are looking for newer interpretations. Just establishing the fact that Riti Vada can be helpful in understanding a particular text is okay, but not more than that. Another work I'll include in that phase was Priyadarshi Patnaik's Rasayan theory, where he brings in almost all available theoretical postulations there and also tries to contemporize rasa. Institutionally, the most important work was Kapil Kapoor's intervention in JNU's syllabus making, where he made Sanskrit poetics a part of the English curriculum. And then, in say a decade or so, we have been seeing that we are trying to understand in Indian knowledge system, we are also trying to utilize those things. I have seen in that pamphlet two abstracts which are looking at Western literature from the perspective of Indian poetics, Sanskrit poetics. The question remains, have we been able to provide any new concept, new theoretical postulation? You see, when you look at Western theoreticians, there are new postulations that those postulations do not come from not dealing with their ancient texts. They go back to Aristotle, they go back to Plato, and connect contemporary reality to that and come up with new postulations. Question is, have we been doing this? Are we doing this? Now you see, because I am talking of production of knowledge. Now in production of knowledge, you can have, you just imagine that you have at your home access to multiple types of vegetables. Will you keep only dealing with vegetables which were originally grown in your city and not use those which have come from abroad? फिर तो आलू भी नहीं खा सकते. So where this has become a focus, our push should be towards creating newer categories and conceptual categories. Now, it is not because I just want to do it. You know, colonial mindset means there was never any depth of scholarship in India, in the modern era also. There was a fear of not naming. Because you know, in knowledge production, what do you consider to be of the highest level? Theorization, creating categories, giving terms. Interestingly, this is what coloniality does to us. Now I'll go back why this is important for me, because I looked into the circulation of postmodernism from the perspective of Swaraj studies. We all know that, I mean, Swaraj has been talked about, and we all know it came up with Rana De, Ramesh Chandra, etc., thinking of how our wealth was being drained by the Western colonizers. And then Dadabhai Nauroji first claimed Swaraj for political freedom, and then Gandhi extended it to, and then Aurobindo, Tilak, and before Gandhi, they did it, or parallel to that. यहाँ मेरा timeline थोड़ा गलत हो रहा है. Now, Krishna Chandra Bhattacharya's one article, Swaraj in ideas, underline that we are striving for political freedom, but we are not striving for academic freedom, freedom of thought. And how did he mark that? That not having freedom of thought means we do everything like a scholar, but we don't have any concept which grows out of our doing. And this is not something which only he has experienced. You know, interestingly, far in Malaysia, Syed Hussein Alatas, who was a freedom fighter in Malay and was also a sociologist, they didn't know about each other. This not knowing is also important for us. Developed us more academically rigorous because Krishnachandra was a philosopher, his specialization was into something else. This piece was delivered as a lecture to students. Conceptualized exactly the same thing in academic production. That what Krishnachandra will call shadow mind. Interestingly, Alatas uses the same word, term. And he underlines the same facts. That we are doing everything apart from conceptualizing. Why are we not conceptualizing? Because we are looking at ourselves or looking at the other, either with the methodology of ourselves or of theirs, but we don't feel like we can conceptualize a newer identity. You see, literature, why have not I brought in literature in this discussion? Indian literature has not failed us. Each piece comes with not its knowledge of Western or Indian. It comes with its understanding of whatever it is. If it is based on contemporary, then it's based on contemporary. Amish Tripathi is not repeating what has been there, reinventing, recreating. This is the thing in academia we are not doing enough perhaps. And it is not only a problem of literature discipline. Delhi School of Sociology in the 70s started Indian sociology movement. They wanted to, because they also suffered the same thing. The agenda is coming from the West, methodology is coming from the West, and we are supplying or we are performing the data analysis. In the discipline of philosophy, multiple such movements happen. If you look into Raghuram Raju's works, he has been continuously writing on this. Why this is happening in across disciplines? Because the reason is same. The colonization of mind and then decolonization requires something bigger. And it's not impossible. It's impossible because, you know, our education system these days it is changing. For example, when I am qualifying my honors, qualifying my masters, I am expected to know a bit of almost about each important mainstream theoreticians. In my mind, poetics works. If I talk of refer to poetics, any student of English literature would understand. If I say Abhinavagupta, then these days they will know the name. But if I ask about that one sentence in which Abhinavagupta tried to put his understanding of Rasanishpatti, how many of us would know? But not knowing that definition of tragedy would be a shame, right? So our critical corpus required, we must know a few, and there is no shame in not knowing a few other. Hence, our corpus was not our like our library. Our library might have all these books. And hence, we could not bring ideas wherever is required. Because how does a critical mind work in literature? I'm dealing with a specific trend in literary writings. I'm dealing with a specific genre. I'm trying to analyze, I'm trying to conceptualize. I have few given terms. I utilize those, and I might feel that I need a new term. Now, this need should be based on what I'm studying requires and what my corpus is. Our corpus is much bigger. The only problem of rulers in their own time and in their future also is that they don't know their subject's language. And the advantage of the subjects is they must know their ruler's language. We are in an advantageous position. I'm sure you will be thinking of that. I have come across a few of such postulations. I'll end with one such postulations I tried. So as I said, during my PhD, I was dealing with postmodernism. Postmodern takes literature and ideas and their circulation in a few peripheral cultures. Bengal was the focus, of course, and then Japan and Latin America and Russia. So you all know by now that postmodernist literature means there is a discontinuity. There is no beginning, middle and end. They are not striving to clearly communicate something. And this is the new aesthetics. They are bringing in things. And these are, if you search for postmodernist architecture, and you will see what it means. Because you will see the photographs of those buildings. And in literature, it is the breaking of the continuity of time, the Aristotelian theory, time and space and character. This is the marker of postmodernism, other interpretations are there. And I was, because as I said, I wanted to become a theoretician. आजकल तो सब भूल चुका हूँ. आरजी चला गया. So, you see, suddenly it clicked. We know Alamkara, right? Rhetorical figures. Sanskrit poeticians put a lot of their energy into identifying doshas, naming doshas, defining their characteristics, and giving examples. I found the Alankaras of postmodern literature in those doshas. Like not being able to communicate. Now, Sanskrit poetics itself says it becomes a guna when appropriately used. It is required for the text. Now, if the author is not trying to create a text which has this unity of time, space and language and character, these discontinuities, various types of discontinuities are always marked there, named there with definitions, which has not been done in Western rhetoric. Western rhetoric talks of faults, but doesn't categorize so well. So those were the terms which I can use at the new Alankaras, which has entered our literary vocabulary, because postmodern literature is also accepted as a literary form now. So here you are in an advantageous position because you know both. But you have to know doshas first, right? That is the point in which I think that today's change in syllabi is helping us. Otherwise, अगर हम ऑनर्स नहीं पढ़ते तो शायद मिल्टन नहीं पढ़ते, मेघनाथ वध काव्य नहीं पढ़ते क्योंकि बोरिंग हो जाता है. तो आजकल सिलेबस में है तो शायद हम पढ़ भी लेंगे. और शायद ऐसे अभी जो चल रहा है ये है कि ये बिग पुश, ये पुश धीरे धीरे जब उतर जाएगा उसके बाद शायद हम लोगों में से कुछ लोग निकलेंगे, हमारे जूनियर्स में से, those who will create those new phase जहाँ पे हमें ना लेजिटिमेसी ढूंढना पड़ेगा और ना ही बस एक जगह अपना कॉर्पस को लिमिटेड रखना पड़ेगा. I hope this whole exercise leads us to that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. We really need to ponder upon the contemporaneity that is following the tradition. A sincere thank you to all our dignitaries on the dais. We are incredibly grateful for the wealth of knowledge and the inspiring insights you have shared. We are all walking away with a deeper understanding today. To conclude this inaugural session, I invite our convener, Dr. Ankit Trivedi, sir, Assistant Director, School of Languages, to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
Thanks, Visma. It is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this enlightening conference on reimagining existence, Indian knowledge system, and the role of literature in contemporaneity. At the outset, I extend our deepest gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for their visionary leadership and constant encouragement in promoting academic excellence and cultural heritage. My special thanks to Pro Vice Chancellor, sir, for their valuable support and guidance. And when sir was speaking, I was recalling Francis Bacon's one of the famous statement when he says, "All knowledge is my province." So when the sir speaks in any subject, he just look like the professor of the same subject when he speaks in such way. A special vote of thanks goes to our distinguished speaker, Professor A.K. Awasthi, sir, for insightful presentation and scholarly perspectives. This talk has enriched our understanding for Indian knowledge system and inspired us to explore its relevance in contemporary times. I extend my sincere gratitude to my mentor, my guide, Professor Shravan Kumar Sharma, sir, and whatever I am today because of the learning of the sir. So thank you, sir, for coming here and putting the scholarly vision and how we can adopt and explore a true meaning of Indian spirit in our day-to-day life and in our behavior. My special thanks to the next speaker, Professor K.M. Pandey, sir, for insightful discussion and the core which I figure out from the sir's discussion that, as you said, sir, spend on righteous things. So definitely our faculty members, our students will work on this and definitely they will grow in certain directions. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the last speaker, Professor Amitabh Chhatrapati, sir, for making us aware about the role of Sanskrit poetics in the contemporary times. My sincere thanks to Director, School of Languages, Professor Sarvesh Mani Tripathi, sir, for constant support and motivation. So small narratives that I would like to share. Yesterday what happened, because in the morning, early morning, I called to sir and I said, sir, I am in the dilemma, I am in the mess because still lot of things in the pending. So sir called me, just come to the department, within 2 minutes all the things will be sorted out. So this is the way of working, sir. Neither he takes pain nor he gives pain to the others. So thank you, sir. I express heartfelt appreciation to the organizing committee, our faculty members, whose meticulous planning and tireless effort assured the smooth execution of this event. I would like to acknowledge the contribution of the research scholars, our technical team, non-teaching staff, our media persons. Last but not the least, I would like to give the thanks to the volunteers who was working meticulously to making a meaningful shape of this one-day conference. My sincere thanks to each and everyone who is coming here. Some of the professors came from the different colleges, so thank you very much. Finally, I'll conclude the words of the Charles Dickens when he says, pain of parting is nothing but the joy of meeting again. So definitely we will again assemble in the next venture and some fruitful injections. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. After that, we are going to invite all of you, those who are present here, for the lunch. And for the lunch, we will go to the School of Languages downstairs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request everybody to please stand up for the national anthem.
Hello.